Okay, John, I've given you the host back. So we are rather live on Facebook. So we
Okay.
need to communicate with people. Right. I will do that. Okay.
Okay, we sent the link.
Yes. Let me share the link quickly on Facebook.
Cool, got it.
Okay.
Okay, it's 5 minutes to, well, about 7 minutes thereabout to us starting this amazing webinar, the first of its kind. And we welcome all those who have joined so far. So if you're joining, I can see, yes, we're still a few people in the room. However, we can get to know each other anyway. So if you're joining and maybe it's your first time, Flori Annie Kamanga, I can see you. And I think all the others I know. Welcome to everyone. Councillor Dudley, welcome to President of LWA, Madeline Nkunu, and Yes, so we haven't fully started now, but we're expecting more people to join, and I know we're being streamed live out there on YouTube. So those who are joining us virtually
On
on YouTube,
Facebook.
welcome to Women in Geopolitics, Navigating Global Dynamics for a Resilient Africa. So welcome, 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 welcome to everyone who has joined in so far. Thank you for being on time. And yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. So for those who are here, I think what we could do, we're just still testing to make sure our mics are working. If there's any PowerPoint or anything we want to showcase, all that is being done. So one of our speakers, Honorable, and the deputy, the former MP, Honorable Sherilyn Dudley. You're welcome from South
Thank you.
Africa. Speakers,
Hi
you're
there.
welcome. Thank you, ma'am. It's always good to see you, and you're looking
Lovely to
amazing.
see you. I'm loving those glasses.
I know, right?
They're beautiful.
I know it's a new one that I decided to bless myself with when I forgot one of
Absolutely.
my one somewhere. So now I'm like, no, let me just go. One of my sisters blessed me with it actually,
You're
the frame.
reminding us that in 2 days' time it's spring. So
I
we
know,
can
right?
see.
So this time we can't wait. We're counting down to 1st of September, spring for us here in the Southern Hemisphere. And I
Yep.
know they're getting ready for winter on the other side of the world. So welcome. I hope we're okay with all I can see you, the video, the sound, everything is fine. So yeah, that's good. Okay,
Right.
so we could myself and then just count down to 3 o'clock, which is just about 4 minutes time. And
Good.
welcome again, Miss Flory Kamanga. Maybe you could just in the chat room tell us who you are for us to know who you are. I can see your mic was off, or you could, open your mic, please. Just tell us who you are. Thank you for being our first, although we
Oh,
did have someone else who was first earlier on. She's gone away, but she will be coming back. So tell us who you are, ma'am.
thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm Floriani Kamanga from Malawi.
Okay.
I got the invitation by email, and the topic, the title of the group here, the geopolitics, made me feel I want to listen and probably bring something to my country into this particular environment. That's why I was interested to come and listen. Otherwise, if the invitation got me by mistake, oh, I'm good to leave. Thank
No,
you.
no, no, no. You're very
Yay.
much welcome. Please, you can't leave. And you're not going to listen alone this time around. This is actually a debate. So it's a change from a usual future is female, which is more of conversation and listening to the panelists. But now we want to engage with, all those who attend and those who are joining in by YouTube, as well. I probably need to just check so that we make sure we carry them along as well as we're online. So thank you. I hope the weather in
Thank
Malawi
you.
is good as well.
Malawi is good, it's warm, it's going to
It's
summer, so it's quite hot, windy,
awesome.
beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. We are counting down. Welcome, welcome. Is 1 minute to start up of Women in Geopolitics, Navigating Global Dynamics for a Resilient Africa. And I am Dr. Mama K, Dr. Kemiaki Adebayo, known as Dr. Mama K. And I wear so many hats, so I wouldn't even say all the hats that I wear, but I am a member as well of the Leading Women of Africa, as well as the CEO and Executive Director of Boldness Africa, and as well as a board director for WIMP Africa in Nigeria, and so many other hats that I wear. So you're all welcome. Those who have joined us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Zoom, I see you all. Salam alaikum, Sawubana, Origbanji, depending on whatever language, bonjour, bonsoir, Kiemara, whatever language you speak, and wherever you're watching us from. And this is not only watched within Africa, it is actually seen across the continent and outside the continent. So we have people who join from Europe, from UK, from US, from Canada, from Australia, and from everywhere. So you're all welcome to the first of this debate series that will be taking place, hosted and organized by the Leading Women of Africa. So it is the Women in Geopolitics we're starting with, and Navigating Global Dynamics for a Resilient Africa. Thank you for those who have joined. A little bit of housekeep just to start, especially those joining by Zoom. Please mute yourself. And as well, if you are one of our panelists, I can see one already in the house. We welcome you. Thank you, Honorable Sherilyn Dudley, a former member of parliament who does a lot of work, and an author, as well, and a mother and grandmother, and so much my wife. Thank you. We can see you already for joining us. And so please do mute yourself when you want to talk. You can either use the emojis to raise your hand up, or please, you can, in the chat room, say who you are and let us know what you want to ask and who you're directing your question to. But like I said, this is actually in the form of a debate this time. So it's not just about listening to our amazing, experienced, skilled panelists, but contributing as well. I was speaking earlier on to one of our young sisters that joined, on time, very, very much on time, Flori Annie Kamanga from Malawi. And she said, yes, the topic for her, it's something that she really, really wants to learn, what other people are doing, women in geopolitics. So thank you, Flori Annie Kamanga from Malawi. Thank you for joining us. And I can see as well, Mems Ramala. I can see, I'm just trying to call the people that I don't know. I know a few names there. John Bianco. We love seeing our men. So this is not just an event for women alone. It's for both men and women, but mostly focusing on us women in terms of, yes, we need to shake the tables. What are we bringing to the table? What are we on the table? But we need our men, as well to be there with us and to hear us. So thank you. So in the chat room, can you please, just as we just welcome people who are joining again, Sakina Mohammed, she had joined earlier on. I see you again, my dear sister and activist in South Africa. We see you, Mems Ramaila. So please, in the chat room, I want you to just tell us who you are, what you do. And yeah, this month we've been celebrating Women's Month in South Africa, and we're blessed to celebrate it twice a year, although every day is Women's Day or Mother's Day, like women always claim. Yeah, and it is true, but then we have the special days and months that it's about, what we manage to do and to honor each other and to celebrate each other. So as the Women's Month concludes tomorrow, I know different people have been doing different things. So in the chat room, can you share what you've done, where you've been, what you've managed, to change? Because we're about finding solutions more than anything. So can you in the chat room? I want to just chat on that, and then we'll share with us a little bit about our panelists today and as well the topic, and then we'll hand over to Madam Nkunu to just talk a little bit more, especially about the importance of women's leadership in geopolitics. So I'm trying to see if anybody has said anything. This is a very interactive webinar. So please do talk. Let's hear you. And yes, I hope it's okay. We're using the AI app. We're very modern, to make sure we can transcribe and know what we're saying. So Floriani, grateful. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Very, very grateful to everyone else that is here, and we can see you or we can hear you. Okay, so Mems Ramalia is saying she's from Johannesburg. How is the weather in Joburg? Okay, she runs a sustainable beekeeping enterprise in order to improve the quality of life of communities residing adjacent to Forest Park. And she's shared our contact details. Glad to be here. We're glad to have you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you for joining. Thank you. So let me now, as we're waiting for others to just share the details, I probably will need to go to YouTube or Facebook to see if anyone is chatting with us so that we don't exclude them. We're trying to manage technology, as well. And we really want this to be interactive. So please, we need you as best as you can to talk. Either through the chat room or when the time calls for you to please put your hands up, raise your hand. There's the emoji there, although sometimes I even struggle to find it myself. So, but please go there and let's hear you. So Floriani Kamanga from Malawi, she's a trailblazer in the mining industry, advocating for women, youth, and people with disability to participate in the sector and to earn from the natural wealth. And she's a leader of several mining groups. Wow, this is an industry that we hardly see women or we talk about or to recognize them. So we see you, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining in. So without further ado, we are going to have speakers joining us intermittently. So in the house, I just want to do an introduction of one of our panelists and our speaker that we have, who was always, on time. And she is none other than former MP Sherilyn Dudley. She is based in South Africa, and she's a former South African MP who served from 1999 to 2019 with the African Christian Democratic Party. She championed family policy, labor reform, and media freedom during her 2 decades in Parliament. So you will really, really believe, that she's an expert, in the area that we're talking about in terms of women in geopolitics. She's done it, she's been there, she's got the t-shirt, and she does so much as well in the community. So you're most welcome, our dear Madam, Ms. Sherilyn Dudley. You're welcome. Thank you very much for coming. So now let me invite Madam Nkunu Madeleine. Most of you know her. She's the president and founder of Leading Women of Africa. They run an academy, they do so much, but let's hear it from the madam herself and for her to set the tone, for us with this topic, that we're talking about, women in geopolitics, navigating global dynamics for a resilient Africa. So we've got a really interesting agenda today. Like I said earlier, for those who joined, it's a form of debate. We will hear from the speakers, and at the same time, we're going to open the floor, for people to contribute with the specific questions, that we have. So Madam Nkunu, can you please share with us and set the tone for today's webinar? Over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mama Kay, to always be here for us. It's really an honor to welcome everyone in the room, to welcome our speakers, our panelists, and our dear sisters and brothers from around the continent. Women in geopolitics, navigating the global dynamics for a resilient Africa. Why why the topic? I think definitely the topic is topical. It is the time. Today, the world is shifting, as we know, and the world is going through a major transformation that Africa and its women can no longer ignore. So, like I said earlier on, the world is shifting, and from a unipolar world that we know, where the world was governed by one power, and we are shifting more to a more multipolar world where there are so many powers that are rising around the world. And yeah, without ignoring, Russia, China, India, Brazil, and also, if you just look at the whole BRICS movement, the BRICS bloc that is rising up to become a power. And those are the changes that are coming that we thought we cannot ignore. As we are seeing around the world, the trade war is continuing to rise everywhere. Regional conflict right here in Africa continue to rise. The competition between powers is actually reshaping how nations deal with one another. And the way to negotiate that, it's very important. And I'm talking here now from the African perspective, where we are looking at the vast resources, natural resources that Africa has. But as we know the dynamic of Africa. Yes, we are wealthy when it comes to mineral or natural resources, yet, we are facing a poverty that no one really, no studies, no research has been able to kind of describe, why Africa must go through what it's going through, despite the wealth, the natural wealth that it does have. So then that's basically how we would understand geopolitics. So it means somewhere either Africa, we don't have necessarily, yes, the resources belong to us, but it does not belong to us because we don't have the power to make decision on that. And that's where the trade wars, that's where the trade wars come. It's basically control of resources you can own, but do you control? And as women, and I think that's where my interest came in, it's like now, in the face of all this, where women stand, how do we do? How do we position ourselves? I think as women, it will be time for us to be really at the center of development. We do have the Agenda 2063, the AU Agenda 2063, where we believe has placed women at the center of development. But for us to reach there, for us to attain those aspirations of the AU Agenda 2063, we need to relook at how women are positioned. And I think from the Leading Women of Africa vision and perspective and what we are after, it's actually to see how do we position or even reposition women to have more power and not just the numbers. Yes, I know in numbers, women represent over 52% of the African population. But do we have the power to actually make significant impact? And I think that's where we are after. So the geopolitics for me is actually try to understand how the powers are playing, how the powers are being played, It's basically to understand who's controlling what and who's making decisions on what. And Africa cannot ignore that the whole global geopolitics will involve Africa in one way or another. I was just talking of my son this morning, whereby he was asking questions about the DRC, because this week I did write an article about the DRC, I mean the peace agreement that was signed between DRC, Rwanda, and in US. And after a bit of research, where we have come to understand why that deal is failing, and part of that failure, who's losing really. And my son was asking about it. And I was basically just alluding to the fact that, you know what, no one in this world can talk about technology or technological advancement without talking about DRC, because the technology needs raw materials. And big part of those raw materials come from DRC. So as much as, yes, we'll see, okay, it's poor country, is it really a poor country? So basically the geopolitics just say the world cannot be where it is without Africa, without some countries in Africa. And I think that's where we need to look at. We need to be able to say, why there's war, the war does not stop in the Eastern DRC, really just to speak plainly. Why the war does not stop. It's not just because people want to kill one another. There is bigger reasons at play, and we cannot be ignored about that. Why Sudan and South Sudan, they continue to fight. There is a bigger a bigger power behind it. Why Africa continue to be left behind. It's not just because there's no skills, there's no resources in Africa. No, there are bigger powers behind it. And I think really the reason why we're bringing this topic is just because we really don't want to continue to be ignorant of how the world is moving. And, really my aspirations, if I must say, is actually to see that women will become more resilient and more determined to understand how we can play a significant role in how the world is being managed. Because when we talk about the world, we're talking about how the resources of the world is being managed. If we have poverty today, it's not that there are lack of resources, but it's more how the resources are being redistributed. And that is also part of geopolitics. So in today's session, and this will be the first session of many, because we will continue to discuss about these issues. It's not an issue that we will discuss in just one in one meeting. So the aim is that as we come together, we discuss, we will expect everyone to play a role. Bring your idea to the table. So at the end of every meeting, we will be summarizing whatever the outcome, and we will be submitting to policymakers. So we want women's voices to be heard. And this is a platform that we want women really. Don't be shy. Don't be, whatever you think, please put it on a chat or talk about it. Because the more we talk, the more our leaders will be aware of what the people are thinking. We are the people, and our thoughts matter. Our thoughts have to matter when it comes to decision making table. While we are not there, let at least platforms like this speak for us. So it's not just like any meeting, but it's really some kind of a think tank that we want brains and thoughts to converge. Let's converge here. Let's discuss about those pertinent issues. I think we have been, my thinking about women's women's empowerment journey is that it started many, many, many centuries ago, before even we existed. And why are we still talking about it? Because sometimes we need to move away from just, talking about it, and to kind of be intentional that this is the time we want to have a say, we want to have a voice. And it's platforms like this where we could have a voice. So today we will tackle two topics. We might not be able to exhaust all the questions or every angle in those topics, but let's cover as much as we can. The first one will be, how do we basically, I don't know where to start. It's about unity. Looking at how the world, or even just in Africa, how we are being divided. What can we do as women in the face of what the world is going? Let's just look at our own South Africa. Let's just look at our own South Africa. We come from apartheid, and where we thought that, okay, after post-1994, there will be no more divisions, we'll work together, we will see the same future, but yet we continue to fight. We continue to divide ourselves. If it's not by race, it's now by culture, it's now by language, it's now by belief system and all that. Until when we will continue to be divided? If it's not by color, it's now where you come from. Until when are we continue to be divided while we share one piece of land called Africa? Now, in the face of all these divisions, and I'm not only talking South Africa, I look at Tanzania as well. There was even a policy that was passed. It's a trade war where the Kenyan entrepreneurs, are restricted and all that. One, the same thing. And it's just about time that we need to start looking at these issues, with open mind, without hiding. The second topic that we'll speak about will be the shift that
I think Madam Madalena has been muted by mistake by technical. Please mute the right people.
All
and
right.
Can I remind
I'm
everyone
back.
to mute their phones, please, as they join? Thank you.
All right. So can you hear me now? Right. So I don't know where I was, but I was talking about the first topic being the, in the face of the divisions that Africa is experiencing, from South Africa, where we are seeing, I was talking about, post 1994, where we were hoping that post 1994, it will be time to unite. It will be time to really work together toward development and empowering African people. However, what we are seeing is that the divisions continue. And how long are we going to continue? And I was alluding to, it's not only South Africa, it's also we will look at Tanzania as well, where there's a trade war between Tanzania and Kenya. In Ghana, there's a trade war between Ghana and Nigeria. And where will Africa go if we continue to divide ourselves? That is really the first topic that we will tackle as women. What role can we play in trying to promote unity? And the second topic will be the shift that the world is experiencing from a unipolar world into a multipolar world. How women can position to understand, because this whole change, it requires negotiations, a lot of negotiations. And as we know, women has the power to negotiate. Women do not negotiate by taking guns, but women negotiate by promoting unity. And for me, that is the topic. So as we engage today, I would like to see everyone involved in this platform. Really raise your voice, share. We are here to share. It's not about hearing one speaker or one panelist. It's actually a time for us to raise our voices because, like I was saying, that the resolutions or the ideas, the thoughts that will gather here will be compiled and will be shared with various platforms that we are connected to, of decision makers, of policy makers. And as much as we might not be there on a table, let our voices here speak for us, because we'll be sharing whatever we'll be discussing here, it will reach them. So this is really what I could invite you to, that let's have your voice, let's hear your opinion, your insight, your experience, so that we can build a movement. And this is just the first of many to come. There will be many, many other topics. We might not be able to exhaust all the topics today, but let's do as much as we can, and let's come out. My hope is that by coming out of this place, we will have an idea of the next time how we will engage, and we will open our minds as we interact out there within our workplace, within our businesses. We will have a mind shift. I think we need to shift our mind as to how do we deal with the world, because with the world today is not business as usual. Things have changed. New powers are rising up, and we cannot continue to stay behind. We need to be aware of how the world is going. And I just invite the panelists to really speak from their hearts, from their experience. I invite everyone to really speak from their experience as well, so that together we can form a force or a movement that will continue to engage and speak on behalf of the women of Africa, and more precisely on behalf of Africa. Thank you so much. And yeah, we can
Thank you
continue.
so much, Madam Kunu. That was very, very apt in terms of you sharing with us some of the challenges, and the divisions, we have in Africa, the focus of where we want to go, and as well of the format, we have today. Being the first part will be about unity, and then the second part of the debate will be about shifting. And I liked what you said there at the end, about we need to have a mind shift, that the world is changed and things, have totally changed all around the world, and we need to get going with it. And as women, and the significant role women have played. So without much ado, because we're already, time is going, already, I want to welcome one of our other panelists. She's in the house just now. So I did welcome our former MP, Mrs. Sherilyn Dudley from South Africa. And now I want to welcome Excellency Dr. Fatoumata Jahumpa Sise from Gambia. And just to tell you a brief, history about her, she is the Gambian ambassador to South Africa and SADC. She's a former Speaker of the National Assembly. She's a seasoned diplomat, a journalist, and advocate for women's empowerment, recognized for her leadership in promoting trade, investment, and gender equality. And at the same time, these women, both of these women have won several awards. That's a little bit about Dr. Fatoumata there. They've won various awards for the role that they play, and they're ones that could testify to some of what we're going to be debating and talking about. So welcome again for those who have joined us, and welcome Excellency Dr. Fatoumata Jahumpa Sise. You're most welcome. Thank you, and we can't wait to hear your input and to just help us facilitate and to lead some of this discussion. So for those who have joined us, just a reminder, please remember to mute yourself, although our technical trying to mute, but please technical avoid muting the wrong person. So mute yourself, and please, we have the chat room there. You can introduce yourself, tell us who you are. We already see a lot of people sharing their contact details, and I even like the fact that somebody was asking for the contact details of Ms. Flori Annie. So please share your contact details. This is all what this is about. It's about sharing, like you heard from Madam Kunu, and as well as coming up with solutions and how we can set up not just, this, but more of like a movement in addressing some of what we're going to be talking about and what role as individuals that we're playing. And welcome again to all those joining on YouTube and on Facebook as well. We appreciate you. We see you. Please use the comment section to comment or just listen in. That's fine. You could just listen in. That's perfect as well. So let me now go on to giving our two panelists just 5 minutes each, very quickly, please, before we go on to the questions for debate. Like Ms. Nkuno said, we have about 5 questions for the first session and same questions for the second session, which will be moderated by my brother, Mr. John. I can't wait to listen in for that second half. So the first session, we're going to be talking about how do we promote unity when everything is crumbling before our eyes. So I just want our two speakers, just 5 minutes each, please, ma'am. If you could just give an overview, of your views on what Women in Geopolitics, the title itself, A Pan-African Lens on Resilience and Global Influence, because both of you have worked and are still working in that field of politics and in terms of women empowerment and in terms of some of what Ms. Nkuno, spoke about. So if I go first to Madam Dudley, if you could unmute yourself just for 5 minutes, just to give your general overview, of how do we promote unity? Like you heard what Madam Nkuno said, but just in 5 minutes, and then we go into the debate.
All right,
Thank you, ma'am.
lovely. Thank you. Great to be with you today. Just to look at the heading there, Africa in a shifting global order, it's such an important topic. And of course, that speaks to placing our particular situations in context, and that's really very important. And that in terms of even creating unity, we need to see things within the context, the broader context. Then we took women as strategic navigators. I think that's phenomenal. But of course, there it's really very important. We speak about negotiating and mediating and an important roles for women, but all roles are important for women. So we have to be good communicators. Now, some of us are more so than others, and it might not be our superpower, but we do have a responsibility to actually get better and better at communicating, whether it's in writing, whether it's speaking, and understanding how to connect, because we often don't realize that we're creating we're not creating a unified kind of environment. A lot to do with the way we communicate or don't communicate. And of course, to do that, we also have to have understanding, which means that we need to know about the situations. We need to know about our own situations. We need to know about other people's situations, because obviously people can't give us what they don't have to give, and people can't be what they haven't got to be. So so there's more understanding, better communication, and then becoming good in the roles that we are actually gifted to be doing. Does that cover you?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. You were straight to the point, and I totally agree. Women, in terms of the skills we have, negotiators, good communicators, and so much more. But we're going to allow now Excellency Dr. Fatimata as well to just give us our own 5 minutes, just overview, of what you feel, in terms of Pan-African lens on resilience and global influence, especially the topic we're talking about, and then we'll go on to the specific question. Thank you, ma'am. If you could unmute yourself.
Yes, are you hearing me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mama.
Although we want to see you, ma'am, we need to see.
I'm in a sick bed, and
okay.
just
right.
want to participate. I look very bad.
Okay,
yes.
okay. We pray
But
you get well.
having said that, I said assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to all listening beautiful ladies. I just want to say, yes, I have had Madeleine, and just my sister was just spoken also, which I wanted to base all this debate on, which is what Madeleine said, shifting and communication. We were there, we have to move to another place, and we now have to communicate. But I said, I think you will all agree that there is a global problem growing up on these political challenges. And therefore, our continent, we need to find ourselves across, because we are at crossroads, and we must all be at all level to see at all sectors where we can engage. And that's why we are talking about, we were here, we have to shift. And then how, when we shift, how do we communicate? And how, when we communicate, how do we perform? Both on, especially my side, the diplomatic resilience, economic, climate change, all over, to bring good governance. But I think also as women, we can play a very, very crucial role in shaping the future of our nation, especially our great continent, Africa, and put it in the where we belong in the global world map. Having said that, I think it's very important that we discuss the strategies and see how we can navigate them, right? And how to strengthen our position, especially in the various topics that are topical now, or global topics like climate change, economic development, women participation and leadership, the girl child, which we shall never forget, because from the girl child, then we have the good woman leadership. So I think this is all inclusive for women, and we have to do our own contribution based on the world global order. And then I believe we also have to commit ourselves, as our dear woman of substance, Madeleine, her MM, I call her MM, and you, I call you MAA, has been saying. I'm very much interested, because I said, where we are, how can we move? And then she said it's shifting. And she gave a very typical example of where we are, her own country, which is South Africa, and then how we are going to capitalize. I think this will come up also. Let's see how we as women leaders can capitalize on the African Union 2063, how we can fit ourselves, even though they said they will fit us. The unity which gave about South Africa, we still needed. The wars happening in Africa, in Congo, in South Sudan, and in smaller countries in Africa, especially in West Africa. There is no stability. We know we have military rules. We don't know what is happening to or going to happen to other countries. And ending it very nicely, communication, as she has just rightly said. So in short, this is what I have to say. I'll still be around and to be part of this very, very, very important assignment we are doing, which is being headed. And if you look at the objectives, they are all there, and it will help us to do. But let's see where we were, how can we move? And when we move, how can we communicate? When we communicate, how do we perform to get what we want and put back Africa where it's supposed to be, as women leaders? And we are headed by this very prestigious institution, LWA, headed by a woman of substance, Mrs. Madeleine Kunu, and supported by people like Dr. Mama and others. So thank you very much, ladies. I'll be on, and I'll be listening and participating. Bye.
Thank you, Honorable Doctor. I need to find a name for you as well, since you're giving MM and DM. But we really appreciate you for taking the time, even though you're not feeling well. We appreciate you taking the time to still join in. And we pray that you definitely get better real soon. Thank you so much. Well, you've heard it from amazing, dynamic women in terms of what they're doing. We've been, the agenda, African Union 2063 agenda has been mentioned, the girl child, the climate, those were all the things Madam Fatoumata mentioned, as well. So now I'm going to now start with a question. I think now is the time for us to start the debate, because it's more about engaging, with each other. And like we heard, you sharing as well, good practice, what has worked, or even sharing what you know that we might not know. I can read in the chat room, my dear Nigerian sister Adenike Adedeji saying, Hopefully we're doing well in our field, which is interesting, to know, yes, how are we doing in the different field that we're in, from mining to politics to education to entrepreneurship and so much more. So our first question, and I'm going to put it in the chat room, which I will first direct at our two speakers in the house. To just give a short overview as well for 5 minutes. I know we're trying to just manage time well, because remember, we've got a second part to this. So our first question is, what are the most present sources of division within Africa today, political, economic, or social? And how can women leaders address them differently? So yes, women leaders, we've been doing various things to address some of these issues, some which Madam Nkuno mentioned, but what more can we do, or what are you doing, to address them differently? So we will get the panelists, our two panelists first, to share their own perspective, and then we'll open the floor. Like we said at the beginning, and probably the advert for this event is not just to listen, it's to hear each other and just, brainstorm more, and to just, like a tic tac. That's what we're trying to do with this webinar. So it's not just, oh, the panelists know about it, or Madam Nkuno or myself. No, we want to hear what you're doing, differently in terms of addressing this division, which has been mentioned, earlier on. So I would put the question as well in the chat room, just to guide us. So Madam Dudley, if you want to just give us your overview, and then we'll open to the guests, to the audience. Thank you.
Okay, well, obviously there's so much we can say in terms of unity or lack of unity, but communication was the one thing that we referred to. And obviously with communication comes the need for respecting not only yourself, but also the person that you're speaking to, and respecting their right to have their opinion, not necessarily yours, and your right to have your opinion. And I think that's a really important basic, and not to be speaking down to people, and being interested in another person's point of view, even if you completely disagree with that point of view, but being able to listen and being able to find some place in you that is actually interested in hearing what that other person thinks. I came to understand that my job in Parliament was to be a living testimony of what I believed, and not to impose my beliefs on others. So to build relationships of trust and mutual respect, so that I did not find deaf ears when I brought issues affecting my constituency to Parliament. So I needed to ensure that people's freedom to make choices for themselves, including faith communities, because I was in the area obviously of legislation, was not curtailed unnecessarily through that legislation, and to embrace tension. And this is an important thing, is not to be afraid of tension. Tension's important. We have different spheres of authority. Not everybody has all authority in every sphere all of the time. So an important question is not just what is the right thing to do, but who has the rightful authority to make that decision, and that's really important. And the tension between the different spheres, like government, religion, the family, etc., it's an important tension. It's not something to be feared, because that's what holds us in a sort of a better balance, because absolute authority is hugely problematic, and we know what that leads to. So that everybody being able to pull each other in at times. So I think that's very important. Then reducing potential for conflicting opinions. So being aware that people will be passionate, people are emotional beings, and they will tend to, if a certain thing is touched, we tend to react over emotionally. And the important thing would be to not let that trigger us, so that when someone else is triggered, that they can work through that emotion themselves without having triggered you or me, so that we're not reacting to that we're actually move on from that, because that's important, that they were triggered. They can think about why they were triggered. But we move on in terms of what it is that we're trying to find common ground with. Yeah, so many people have many different opinions, and this tends to divide people. So if we want to find common ground and peaceful solutions in order to positively impact our communities, and obviously also just it went there with for us, it would be about service delivery as well. It is important that people are free to give an opinion and for us not to react when people overreact in an emotional way. And women would be good at this if we if we choose to be, because we it's not about us, it's more about the person who's saying what they're saying, and it's more important for them to understand why they were triggered. Is that helpful?
Yes, I forgot to unmute myself.
Okay.
Very, very helpful. Thank you very much, ma'am, for that, very insightful summary overview of that question about what more, can we do and how can leaders address them, differently in terms of the division. And I liked, what you were saying about that tension, because sometimes, yes, some of us are always afraid about, okay, should I do this? And the way you gave your personal experience, being in politics, and how that helps you. So, and not to impose, on others, but listening, to what others, are saying. So now, Honorable FJC, I've been given the permission to use that term. So can you give us your overview, as well in terms of that question, and then we'll open it very briefly, to the guest in the house. Thank you.
Hold on. Where am I?
We're here. We're
Okay.
here.
Yes. I think I have two sides. As a former member of parliament, I agree with my sister on her views with the communication aspect. And then as a diplomat, I think WLA has rightly said and give objectives which we should really follow to strengthen the networks between female diplomats and influential African women leaders like Dr. Mama KAA and Miss MM and Honorable Dolly and others, that we can get together to see how we can work on sustainable policies and to become decision makers in this thing. I was reading the I'm fond of that when I'm doing any virtual, the comments, and I saw somebody said about rural women. It's true. I agree. If in fact they are part of the whole thing, because if we do anything and get access to it, and then we leave it within ourselves, and it's not expanded to the rural women, there will be our purpose is defeated. So I think yes, rural women are part of this thing. It's unfortunate that they cannot be on the platform, but we can, as catalysts for peace and stability and any reform. And I always talk about climate change also when it comes to all these things, because it will all go back to the agenda of the AU of 2063 for us women. So I think we are in the right direction by having this like these platforms. But again, at the end of it, I hope Madeleine would make sure that these things are communicated to the right places so that we can make a headway. Because what we are saying here, we are not many in the group, but what we are saying, it's very important and pertinent. So therefore, I think it should have carried forward, and then we see how we can foster collaboration amongst women leaders to achieve what we are talking about.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable FJC, for that. Yes, that comment, about climate change, rural women by Sibagani Dube. Thank you for that contribution, where you say rural women and those in the periphery are feeling the brunt due to lack of resources, to meet the diverse needs. Climate change has added yet another layer of burdens on women. And as well, we welcome, although she says she's on the road, Nomazomo. She is a consultant in infrastructure, investment, governance, and accountability expert for Infrastructure Technical Assistance Facility of South Africa, which they do to increase investment in infrastructure. But she says she's on the road, even though, yes, she still wants to be part of the discussion. Now, I want to open the floor now, just to hear, like Madam Honorable FJC said, it's not a lot of us here, which makes it more intimate, and for us to basically go more in depth, with certain questions. So I know Ms. Sakina Mohammed, you joined earlier on. I'm sorry I have to call out names, but I just want to hear your view, in terms of the debate, what we're talking about. Do you agree, that yes, communication, is key, or is there anything else more we need to do? And like what both as panelists have said, how do we foster more collaboration? What more do we need to do? Are we just about talking, and how do we take this forward? Because I know Madam Honorable FJC said, yes, and I know that's something me and Madeleine too, we've been talking about, that we need to take all this feedback, to, who has the right to make them. Like Madam Dudley too said, who has the right to make this? I can see Madam Adenike Adediji's hand up. So if even though I've called out someone, so I want to see if she's available to talk. If not, then we'll go
I am available to talk.
Okay, awesome.
Sakina
Awesome.
Mohammed.
So after you will be Madam Adenike.
Thank you. I do agree with what has been said about communication, but I think that we do need to, and obviously for me as a South African that have worked in different spheres of government and also worked in different NGOs, I think one of the biggest things that I think has been amiss is the issue of education. Our schools have become battlegrounds, and I think that we need to, as women, look at, okay, how do we actually start and go back to the drawing board in making our schools a place of learning for everybody. When I was growing up, there was times where people were not able to go. I mean, I grew up in the apartheid era, so there were times where people were not able to go to school, but also at the same time, we used the school for adult education. And I think we need to go back to the drawing board. I heard one of the speakers talk about communication. And communication is also about how do we begin to bring everybody on board. We now are in a democracy, but I actually feel we actually more polarized than we were in the apartheid era, because you find that people would be asking you, what nationality are you? They don't look at it, you're a South African, and that is important. So I think that we, in our communication.
Please, can you, okay, we need people to unmute yourself while somebody is on the call. If not, please, can you? Thank you. Okay, sorry, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay,
Sakina, ma'am.
I'm Sakina.
Okay, I think I'm okay. Let's, yes, I said what I needed to say.
We're having an echo. I'm not technical. Can you? Okay, I know Miss hand was up. Can you unmute yourself first? Okay, that's why we were having the echo. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So Miss Adenike, you probably have something else up on. Maybe you're recording, from Facebook or something else. So, but maybe we want to speak so we don't have that echo. I will allow you to go ahead. Thank you, Ms. Sakina Mohammed. we heard you, ma'am, and we'll come back to some of your inputs. So, Ms. Adenike Adedeji, please, can you go ahead now? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, all the leaders in the house and every honorable ladies in the house. My name is Ade Adedeji from Nigeria, FCT, and I've been following LWA for quite a year plus now, and I'm looking forward. First of all, I want to appreciate Dr. Mama KD. You are doing a wonderfully well work. It shows that you are from the Yoruba region in Nigeria. Thank you, ma'am. My own contribution is that yes, advocacy, as you leaders have said, is key, but the information to be passed to the people is very key. Even before the advocacy was accepted by the government or those who are in charge, the agency, we need to pass enough information to ourselves. A lot of information needs to be done, because even to the rural area, because I am a farmer, I'm into agricultural sector as one of my things, but we need to give more information and to show more love to each other. We are lacking loves. We are lacking loves. We need to show more love and to pass information more to each other so that people can know that this is the way things are done. In the era of our forefathers, South Africans, when they want to accept their independence, the whole Africa rise up. Nigeria rise up. I was in primary school then. They brought some colo, we call it colo, that's local bank, to contribute each coins. So that is love. We need to support each other. And even though when Ghana, one of these days I ran into a social media, a lady was condemning Nigeria that they say little Ghana. It is God that created every one of us. We have no hand, power to do anything than to accept what he has given to every one of us. But to unite together and work together as one, and to let us take after to the necessary points. Let's trade within each other. Let's show love. Let's celebrate each other in one point or the other, and we work in harmony. Then we get there step by step. Thank you. And I have one information I want to give to the house. Please pardon me, the leader. Don't mind me that I did not pass the message before. There is a 32 ministers trade coming up in Egypt next month, organized by the leader of AFTA in Cairo. We're calling on every African people. I will pass the message. I've asked Madam Dr. Kemi to send me an email. I will pass the message to the house later. For everyone of us to other African countries, let's collaborate within each other so that Africa can be giants of all the intercontinental world. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. As we say in Yoruba, we're both from the same tribe. Thank you so much. If you could just mute yourself and just listen in, I love that contribution. And just to recap as well on what Ma'am Sakina Mohammed, said, for me, not just recap, but in terms of what is important. And I completely agree with both our guests. The fact that education, yes, I see that in Nigeria, I see that in South Africa because I'm involved in schools, in both countries, very hands-on, in it. And I agree with you that, yeah, the schools have become battleground and we need to restart, we need to rebuild. And I completely, I don't know why, that has been my own mantra in the last 2 weeks. Even with the school, for me, that my mom's school, which is going to be 40 years next year, and I've been saying, no, things are no longer the way they are. We need to definitely restart and rebuild. And even the schools here in Cape Town, the government schools that work a bit in Kalisha, in Hatlon, in Philippi, in Retreat, in Delft. Sorry, I almost forgot my people in Delft. I almost live my life in Delft all the time. So we work with a lot of schools there. So I completely agree with you. We need to bring everybody as best as we can on board, even if they're fighting, and just to force them that no, you need to be here. And just to summarize again on what Mr. Adedeji said, the information needs to be passed. And I like the fact that you said show love, even though we look at that thing as a small thing, but it is a part of what this is about. Some of us, and most of us here, practicing Christians and practicing Muslims who believe in God, who are about peace, who are about love, and so on. So thank you for reminding us that, yes, we need to show love, because that is part of what is causing the division, the trade wars, the internal fragmentation, be it from country to country. But yes, I like what you did at the end as well, where you are now coming up with, oh, by the way, there's this happening, so now you guys are aware. This is all what this forum and this webinar is about. How can we share information on what can benefit us each? I just want to see if there's anybody else that want to contribute to the first question. We've got 5. I've been told we don't need to cover all, because I know there's some of these things could carry on, and we can always come back to this. If there's nobody's hand up at the moment, and I'll check online as well, we'll go on to the next question, because I need to wrap up in the next 30 minutes. So I think the next question I want to ask, will be, what lessons can Africa draw from women-led peace and mediation efforts across the continent? So we already have a lot of women, who are leading mediation, who are doing work of peace in different parts of Africa. But what lessons can we draw out, from that we can use in, wherever we are, be it Cape Town, be it Malawi, be it Gambia, be it Zimbabwe, wherever we are? So what are some of the lessons, that we can draw out? So I don't know who wants to speak about this. I think this time it will only be one of the speakers, for me to just give an overview on that, and then we'll open it to the floor. So and welcome all those who have recently joined. You're welcome. Thank you for joining. And yeah, thank you. I can see, I'm trying to see there's somebody here. Okay, Honorable Fransman, okay, is one of our speakers, panelists. Thank you. You're welcome. And I know you said you might have to leave as well. So maybe you want to answer this, Honorable Fransman, in here. So, but the 2 questions now, we've dealt with question 1, and maybe Madeline, if you could help me put question 3 in there. What lessons can Africa draw from women-led peace and mediation efforts across the continent? Those ones are lessons. What are the key lessons that we could quickly share? So, and as well as we've had the question of what are the most pressing sources of division within Africa today? How can women leaders address them differently? We've already had input, fantastic input, from our powerful women in the on the webinar. So what lessons? I think that's the question. So Madam Dudley or Honorable Fransman, I don't know, you might want to talk about the general topic or some of the other questions we're coming about. Just want to see who else is in there. Yeah, that's the question that we've got now. Or it might be about the question earlier about, how can women leaders address them differently in terms of division? So Madam Dudley or Honorable FJC, I don't know, I just need one person, Honorable Fransman. Anybody that will mute themselves, I will just say, go ahead and share your views. So, thank you.
Thanks so much, Mama Kay. Let me, because I have to get back in here. I just came out for a few minutes. But let me first of all congratulate yourselves and Lady Madeleine, as well as Mama Kay for a very powerful initiative to continue to look at how best one advance the interest of Africa and its independence. I think I would not be the person that would be able to say, yes, the lessons of women in leadership, and because I think yes, powerful women, and there's a network of women that must be able to respond to those questions. But just from as a former Deputy Minister of International Relations, but also extensively working in mediation. So the mediation on Madagascar, you'd remember there was a process where President Rajoelina in 2010, there was a coup d'etat, and France was behind that thing. And from the one side, you had the USA that were interested in Madagascar, but not because of the minerals, but it was because of the underwater cabling on that, connecting the continents. And then on the other side, France was kind of encouraged a subjective interest based on the 99-year agreements when independence took place, and they then locked in a 100-year focus for the oil and gas and minerals. So you have these kind of things. That debate happened without the Malagasy themselves. So the Malagasy people were victims in that whole process. So I was brought in after President Chissano attempted to bring he was the head of the mediation. But then I was brought in as the special envoys both at SADC and at Government South Africa to actually get them to sign that agreement. What was for me very interesting, both President Rajoelina, that was the ousted president at that time, and both President Rajoelina, which was the president that came in because of that coup in 29, and President Ravalomanana, which was the ousted president, both of them had strong, very, very strong strategists, which is basically the head of Ravalomanana's team and the head of Rajoelina's team was both females. So I was sitting and having to engage. So whether it was in Cape Town, at the Canal, whether it was in, at 15 Orange, whether it was in France, whether it was off the main island in Seychelles, or in Madagascar or at SADC, I literally had to mediate and negotiate with those two solid, strong women. And that story is not always being told because it was not the men that took those decisions. It was literally chief advisor of Rajoelina and the chief advisor of Ravalomanana was both females. And the only way that I was able to break the process so that neither Rajoelina or neither Ravalomanana could stand in that election in 2012, afterwards, the 2013, where there was no election, because we told them neither you or you can stand because you're both part of the problem. I was able to take the wisdom, the negotiating skills, the softness of that negotiating skills, the ability to give and take. I could only pull that process through, and I was then the chief mediator in terms of signing the agreement. I was only able to get that through after I've been able to get through to those respective females in terms of discussion, a give and take, hear what they're saying on the one side, hear what they're saying on the other side. I think that I'm giving us an analysis of how powerful female can be if they are being recognized for the roles that they are playing in context. I think another example is obviously Mama Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. In the period when she was the chairperson of the African Union, I think it's important for a network like this to analyze the processes that she attempted to institutionalize and which she also got right. There was issues of governance in the AU that was not there before. There was, for example, strategic projects and strategic initiatives that looked at not only the wars in Africa or aspects of that looked at the emotional trauma that comes with those things. So the notion about emotional trauma when person X go into government as after a challenge, then that person X, I am gonna, because I explained to Lady Madeleine that the Deputy Secretary General of Contralesa, the National Body of Traditional Leaders, has a function, and I've been asked to speak. So I'm making those points because there's a noise now, so I'll have to go in. Right. But I'm making those points, and I think it's a discussion for future interest, And as you know, Mama Kay, I'm always prepared to have that discussion, to be part of a network. To give a last point, I've just got a discussion now on Congo and what is happening, the impact of Congo now, and the issues relating to M23, process related to the country itself, and a free Congo leads to a free Africa in all its aspects, and the ravages that caused as people were displaced. So on Thursday last week, I had at the Heritage Center a roundtable of 30 people. And this week coming, I will have at the University of Western Cape a discussion on that. And interesting so much, it's a female, it's a woman from Congo that's actually leading the discussion with me on the other side. And I hope that those are the issues that we can take forward. So thanks so much. And sorry that I will have now to, I hear they're starting to make a noise here. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Fransman. Former Deputy Minister, is a South African politician and former Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. He previously served in various leadership roles in Western Cape and as the chair of ANC in the province. In 2023, he launched the People's Movement for Change, PMC, a party promoting progressive and issue-based politics. Just to give you a little bit of background, unfortunately, he couldn't put on his video as well. Like he said, he's speaking at another event, but he wanted to still be part of this, and he had heard a little bit about what we discussed, and he wanted to put his input. And yeah, thank you so much for what you're doing, Honorable Fransman. You know, I was at the launch of the party, the PMC, and wow, what a great honor, you know, for me just to see a lot of people wanting to be involved and to just see changes, you know, as well. Because for me, you know, it's about what are we doing? Politics is something we all need to embrace. And thank you for sharing that amazing examples, you know, in terms of Madagascar, the mediation you were involved in, and the fact that there were strong strategies, and it was women who were behind, you know, the mediation, and how powerful, you know, our women are. If only, like you said, they could be recognized, you know, more, and, you know, given the example as well, you know, that maybe more work needs to be done about Mama Zuma, you know, in terms of some of the work she did, you know. So thank you for your commitment to Africa as a continent and to South Africa, and as well in terms of women empowerment. We appreciate you, we see you, and we celebrate you. So he has given us what he said. We wish you well with your talk and every other function that you're at. I'm sure, you know, you'll be called back again, you know, for your input, you know, where you can. So now we've had 2 questions, and I'm looking at the time is already 1:15, and I'm supposed to hand over to my brother John for him to facilitate the next session. However, I'm slightly worried that, you know, maybe there are other things or other people in the room that want to say anything. I've gone to the Facebook page. I can't see any question, but I know people are watching and they're sharing as well. If there's anybody. Okay.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Honorable.
Yes, I was so happy when the former deputy foreign minister of DERCO was speaking, because absolutely it's the truth and nothing but the truth. Because if women are not inclusive in participation to lead sustainable development in Africa, in our continent, it will not go. Because Africa can draw key lessons from everywhere. For example, in ECOWAS region, I remember when I was the deputy speaker of the ECOWAS parliament, we had a delegation on this war between Liberia, Sierra Leone, and, you know, Guinea, around that end. But when we had our own mission on this Mano River women, what we discovered was the rebels were using the poor women farmers who are farmers harvesting cassava or yam to take guns and put them in their baskets and carry it to where they want to. But when we discovered it and we came as women, we stopped it. And then the war eventually stopped. So there were women inclusive in that. It is very important that women inclusive participation in formal peace processes. can bring a very good peaceful outcome in Africa and the whole world. But when they are choosing this delegations, they don't involve us. And they don't. And in God's nature too, we as women, we when we are pregnant for 9 months, we give birth, we had that baby under our arms and keep breastfeeding. I mean, the connection between the mom and the child there, it will never ever go away. So we are soft and better managers, but we are never been involved in this. We must be included in peace mediation, or Africa will still be talking about this. Thank you. That was all I wanted to say, and I was happy that he said it. And there was a scenario also in West Africa, and I'm sure in East Africa, in North Africa, everywhere in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and sharing your personal experience in terms of ECOWAS, how women, because they were included, and how they managed, to help change the war in that region in terms of Sierra Leone, Liberia, and so on. And I love what you, said there about women are better managers, because I get that a lot, even a lot of corporate, when I work, with a lot of corporate, these are people who are senior CEOs or founders. They they say this all the time, that women are better managers, but how do we get more women to be included in terms of the world-led peace and mediation, across the continent? But I know there are already women, playing that role in various forms. I can give you a lot of examples, as well from Nigeria, of some of our women who are involved with the mediation and peace, reform in like the Boko Haram issue and so on. I even have one who proudly, she's my sister, my cousin, Dr. Biola Akeode Afolabi. She does a lot of work on mediation and women, peace, mediation generally in Africa, in Nigeria, and even out with Nigeria. So, Ma'am Dudley, I don't know whether you want to say anything about this particular one, or we can go on to the next question for the debate. Although I'm still wanting some of our guests, if you want to say anything, please just either say in the chat room you want to talk, and then we will invite you to just have your input, and then we could go on to the last probably question for this session. But Madam Dudley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama Kay. I think the experts have spoken, and that's perfect. I always enjoy listening to Marius Schwarzman in terms of that experience, and also really excellent for my colleague who spoke last. It's really very interesting to hear what is happening on the ground, and I will save my input for where I feel I'm more useful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to the next question. But we can always come back to any of this topic. And remember, yes, this is a debate. We want your input. We want to find solutions. We want to, set up a kind of way for us to feed back to those who can make decisions within the different 54 countries, even in Africa, or even out with Africa. So my own final question that I will go on, we had 3 more, but I doubt we'll be able to cover that before we go on to the next session, unless we get time. We can come back to them, but I want to use the next 10 minutes, for us to look at this question or something else out with it. So my own final question will be, and I'm choosing it based on some of what we've spoken about, in terms of leadership, diplomacy, grassroots, how do we foster unity? So my own final question would be, how can women in leadership counter external pressures, be it trade wars, be it foreign influence that risk deepening the division among African nations? Madam Nkuno, if you could help me put that question in the chat room, just so people can, think about it as well. So we want to now hear an overview, from our 2 panelists very quickly, and then, we will then hear anybody else that wants to input. This is important because we're spoken about women being leaders, women being good managers, and as well as, okay, yes, there's all these external pressures, that we have, foreign influence from US, from UK, or wherever, or the trade wars. I like the way Madam Adedeji spoke about, recollecting what happened then when she was little in Nigeria, where they had the piggy bank and everybody in school was asked to donate money towards fighting appetite then in South Africa. Meanwhile, we do have a lot of South African companies in Nigeria or Ghana or West Africa, but we still have these issues. So how can we, as women in leadership, either those listening or those we know, how can they counter external pressures that will further deepen this disunity, division that we have, this love that we're not showing each other? So, Honorable FJC, can you just give us your 2 minutes? I think it can be 5 minutes now. Your 2 minutes overview, ma'am.
Well, are you hearing me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, my overview, it's been interesting, and I didn't regret joining it, even though I'm not feeling fine. I've learned a lot, and I think what I can say is let's work together, let's collaborate, let's network, let's be open to each other, and so that we can be accepted in whatever we want to do. And my conclusion would be from all speakers, the unity, the shifting, the communication, and the inclusive of women in peace mediation in Africa. And then we will go ahead, and then the dynamics will be there to join in the geopolitics in navigating how to do all these things for a better Africa, for a peaceful Africa, a developed Africa with all the natural resources that God has given us, and towards the agenda of the African Union of 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. That was straight to the point, and I really appreciate it. Ma'am Dudley?
Well, Mama Kay, in this shifting global order, it will be increasingly necessary to place circumstances in context. And remembering that from the end of the Second World War, the United States made a bold, strategic, and successful attempt to rewire the international system. Imperial ambitions were thwarted and replaced by a global arrangement enforced by the US Navy. With all the world's oceans safe for the first time in history, markets and resources were made available for everyone. The smallest and also the most antagonistic of countries could be involved in the value chain. And this opened up a lot of small countries, and that also affected Africa, in terms of being able to ship what we had to other places and being able to trade. So basically, we think of this system as normal, but it actually is not normal. We've lived in an artificial world on borrowed time, and it is important to understand that geopolitics will matter more than ever in a deglobalizing world. So everybody's been wanting to deglobalize, but we have to think about what this is actually going to mean in reality. So the realities of geography and populations dictates global politics to a large degree, and global politics impacts markets and economic trends. So, for example, right now, the Ford Motor Company of Southern Africa is looking to slash more than 470 jobs at 2 plants, 391 from Pretoria and 73 in Quebec, and with an additional 10 across both facilities. So this reveals a troubling outlook for our country, some automotive industry, as our government underestimated the damage our anti-Israel, pro-terrorism policy would have. So it's really important to think about what we're thinking, and before we take action in any way or verbalize what we're going to say, we've got to look not only to how it's going to harm ourselves, but also our neighbors, etc. So it's important for countries, industry leaders, and entrepreneurs, and I know I'm speaking to people from other countries, from industry leaders and entrepreneurs, to navigate today's complex mix of geopolitical geopolitical risks and opportunities. So it's worth noting, for example, that in the Accidental Superpower, international strategist Peter Zian, and it's a very interesting book to read, examines how the hard rules of geography are eroding the American commitment to free trade. And it is the huge American economy that alone among the developed nations is rapidly approaching energy independence, because their shale revolution allows Americans to increasingly sidestep an energy market which could have rendered them vulnerable. So we can't, plus the United States boasts a youth population large enough to escape the strain and demands of global aging. So combined, these two factors are largely responsible for overturning the global system and ushering in now a new order, or more to the point, disorder. And this has all been, he wrote all this before the President Trump's era. So we are going into an era of disorder, and it will have an impact down the line in terms of many things. And I'll probably have a chance to discuss that in further sessions. But I thought it was important in terms of what we said in the beginning. Apart from communicating, we also need to try and to gain understanding. And understanding means also looking at the broader picture. So I hope that just helps set a little bit of a sense of people being able to think about the broader picture at this point.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Dudley. I know that was useful as well in terms of just taking us back. I can see a hand up, and I really want to invite the person. Please, just when you're mute, tell us who you are. I can see Financial Unity Angela. You're welcome. I love your Duke, as we say here in South Africa. Well done for joining us, and thank you. So please tell us who you are, and then if you're going to just input based on this last question or any other one that you want to, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Mama Kay. Greetings. My name is Dr. Angela Sells. I'm based in the U.S. I identify as a woman of African descent here. I am on the chair of the Global African Sheroes Union. We're an organization that advocates for global African women in 26 regions, primarily on the continent, but we have 5 regions here in the U.S. We have a representation in Europe and the Caribbean. And I also work with the 6th region of the African diaspora. So really involved at different levels with the African Union, United Nations, the U.S., and other levels of government and advocacy with our organization. So I did have a comment and question, because after Cheryl Lynn kind of invoked the U.S., I wanted to contribute to this conversation. And my simple question or thought is, how do we, as global African women, find pathways to work together, especially with the current geopolitical situation, and also what's trending on the ground with the grassroots movements? I know that, I'm a woman of African descent, but I was born here in the U.S. And I know that the conflicts that are happening on the continent in various areas do have external influences and interferences in them. And so 2 schools of thoughts. One, the diaspora is here in the US and Canada and Europe. As a matter of fact, next week we are convening at The Hague to talk about reparatory justice, and all people of African descent from, I don't know, maybe 12 or 13 European countries will gather. The thing is, with us in Europe and those in Europe and us in the US, we don't have an African government that embraces us, especially to assist in these conflict mediations, because we're in the countries of the perpetrators and we're on the ground and we understand the systems. And so we're kind of in the belly of the beast. But unlike other nations, say the Chinese, for instance, if Chinese are anywhere around the world, they have the Chinese government. if the Indians are located anywhere around the world, they have the Indian government. Other groups have their government to back them as a political power. But the diaspora, the African diaspora, we don't have that. And so I think as African women who are in positions of power, how can you all advocate for your governments to strengthen diaspora relations? Because we're in a powerful position outside of the continent because we understand a lot of the issues and we also understand the systems that we're in, and we also have resources. And so one last thing I will mention that because of the dynamics of many of the African children kind of feeling like they don't have a mother or like they're the stepchild, there's a trend happening here in Black America that's called delineation. And that means that many people who were Pan-Africanists, who believed in the dreams of Kwame Nkrumah and Garvey and Sankara and, you know, the Magafulis of the world, who embraced those ideologies are now kind of shifting to a more tribal view, delineation, because people are feeling like, you know, Africans don't really embrace, you know, the children who cannot directly connect their lineage. So, and a way of becoming more tribal. So let me just sum it up and say, you know, in context of that, how can we as leaders of African women help to strengthen or find pathways that we can work together against the bigger issue of conflict and have impact in the places where we are? And I'm going to go back off camera. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Angela Sellis. Wow, wow, wow. We welcome you from the diaspora and African descent. And I love that powerful domination. I haven't heard that terminology before, but I know that that is happening. What you just described there is what I hear that is happening. So thank you for joining us. Where in the States are you joining us from? Just out of interest, whereabouts in USA?
I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. The Midwest.
Ohio. Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us all the way from Cleveland, Ohio. And I can't wait to, you know, in terms of the work that you're doing, you've worked in, you know, 6 regions in Africa, and you're still wanting to be involved and to participate in this. You threw out more questions and more. I keep telling Madam Nkunu that some of this webinar session, to be honest, is more about, you know, more of those questions that we need to keep talking about and to ask. And I loved what you said about, yes, you know, African government, what are they doing to assist, you know, with issues? And I know there's some that are doing some work. I'm you know, familiar to some that are doing work in terms of Africans in the diaspora or African descent. You know, Ghana, as an example, you know, has been trying as best as they can to encourage, you know, our African descent or Africans, other Africans in the diaspora to come back to Ghana, and they're listening to them and making it easy for them. So what more, can we do, you know, to collaborate more, to work more with each other? And I like the question of how do we as global African women find ways, you know, to work together? So thank you for that input. But I want to now throw that input, that question even out here. So it's more questions than anything, and we're going to round up before I hand over. Probably the discussion can carry forward there. It depends on how my dear brother, Mr. John, decides to lead it, to facilitate it, but he's been listening in. So, but I want to hand over to him in the next 2 minutes. If there's anyone, you know, please don't feel you need to mute yourself or to speak, but you can come up with, you know, even answers, you know, to some of these questions that we're having. You know, how do we as global African women find ways to work together? How can women in leadership counter external pressures, especially with the division, you know, that we're having in African nations? Please, we're wanting solutions and maybe examples of good practice. We heard from Honorable Franzman, about some of the good practices that have happened and some that are still happening. So, but there needs to be more. I think that's what we're saying. We're not saying there's nothing, going on or happening. I'm aware of refugees and so on, even in South Africa, who are discussing some of these issues we're talking about, and how can we address them. But we all need to find ways, like Madam Adedeji said, that information. How can we say, okay, yeah, this one has done this has worked, this hasn't worked, who else do we need on board, who else do we need in this webinar, to take action? And I'm hoping, since this will be a continuous thing, whether monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, whichever way LWA decide, we can carry forward some of what we've spoken about here to now, to the next meeting, to say, okay, this happened, this is the call to action, this is what has been happening or not able to happen, who else can help us, what more can we do? So I want to stop there. I can't see any questions, so I'll just give a minute to anyone who wants to maybe comment in the chat room, or want to put up their hand to say something. I can't see any hands up at the moment. Oh, no, I see. Oh, I see. Okay, I want to finish with that. Okay, I see the hands of one of our panelists. I've been looking out for her, whether she's managed to join or not. As you all know, all these powerful women and men, people. So I want to invite, as we're going to have a break, but I see that hand up, but I want to introduce her. She's a Pan-Africanist. Can we continue the recording? Because I know we said we were going to have a break, and we were going to have a break for 2 minutes, a breather. But I think we need to just finish with this one, so we can continue with we can restart the recording. So Professor Emma, thank you very much. So I want to welcome one of our panelists, and I'm sure she's going to input. It's still going to be the same panelists in the second session, so they might decide to carry forward some of the questions here that we've touched on, or just focus on the ones they're going to do. But I want to invite Pan-Africanist Emma Nyerere. She's from Tanzania. She is a Pan-Africanist and a Pan-African movement activist and humanitarian and women's rights activist, a writer, a researcher, a geologist, and the president of Women Leaders Mobilization Commission of IPC PFM in Africa / diaspora. So Professor Nyerere, you are most welcome to this amazing webinar. And I don't know when you joined or what you've managed to hear, but I just want you to finish this input, and then I will hand over for the second session and we'll have a short break. So Professor Nyerere, you've got your hands up. If you could unmute yourself, ma'am.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you. Greetings, everybody. I think my apology, I joined where I delay. I delay joining, but I joined while Sister Angela Salas from US was talking, and really touches me, because those are one of the issues that in the continent where we have to deal with it. We need it, but we have to deal with it, and I think it can be done. And she raised questions about. She said that in diaspora, and I'm sure it's not only women; it could be both. Everybody in diaspora, they don't have an African government to embrace them. And this issue, even myself personally, I've met a lot of people in diaspora who are telling me that your governments in the continent don't embrace us, and especially like the way she said African American. But I don't think it's an issue. I think it can be done. I think something can be done with our government. I think our governments are welcoming all, people, in diaspora. They are welcoming them. But I know that our government would want to collaborate and working together closely with our African descendants who are professional. And I've been telling our people a lot that, you know, our sisters and brothers, our government needs the professional to come back here in the continent and help us. We need your expertise. If you're telling me there's people who wants to come to Tanzania here and not being embraced, that I cannot understand. If you're coming here, you are a scientist, you are a doctor, you are a geologist. We need you, and we need your expertise, because we feel like where you are there, even if we are, they are using you there, but it's not like the way here in the country would want your expertise the way that they want your expertise there where you are. Here, there's more benefits for both of us, for you guys and for us. So our government will welcome any profession, and I think, and if there's any maybe the challenges in between, we are here, the people who can speak for you guys. If you're coming here, you're professional and you want to do something here, and you want the relationship with our government and our people, just meet the right people. And it can be done, and we can speak to our government, because they need expertise. We see our government here; they're borrowing the expertise from Europe country and from from even Australia and elsewhere, because we need those expertise. And you have it all. You have a lot. Actually, even in US, we need your doctors. So I know it can be done, but when it's just. To organize yourselves. When you are coming here, you come meet the right people. And if you are a professional, there is a place for you here in the country. We need you guys to come back here. We can collaborate, we can work together. It is your motherland, so it can be done. But the right people and the right also nation to start with, because there's other nation, there's a lot that people are dealing with. There's conflicts. You choose which country you want to go. If you want to come, you want to go to Ghana, you find the right people there, and they will welcome you with whatever that you're doing. You're professional. Any professional you are in. So my sister Angela and everybody, just know that we have government in the continent. It's not all the government, but we have government who understand this, and we need the diaspora to come here, the professional. We need your expertise, and you're welcome. But when you are coming here, meet the right people. So that's what I wanted to add on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Nyerere. You're most welcome. Thank you for that input. And I definitely agree with you. Even though, I'm a moderator, but I completely agree that, we need African descent and Africans in the diaspora. And like you said, the governments in some countries are definitely open, and welcoming, people in the diaspora, but it's how it's done and the right people and who needs to be involved. And maybe we here as sisters and brothers who are here in Africa can't help connect, people like Dr. Angela to the right contact, because yes, it could get messy and it could become frustrating if they're directed to the wrong people, in terms of the objective or the goal, of why this is being done. And I think that's why a lot of people shy away from it. So thank you so much, for this. We're now going to go on to the next session, but I'm going to hand over. Oh, I think Madam Dudley wanted to say something. Okay, can you just yes.
Just very quickly, because I just want to say that really is very important input that we've just had, because we talk about reparations, but the major reparations that can be made is the sending back of people who have been educated and experienced globally and around the world to come back and actually continue to build and develop Africa. So instead of putting a hand out and asking people for bits of money and then having their control over things, our human resources can be the most amazing reparations in terms of those people coming back to Africa. So I just wanted to say that it's and it won't be easy, those people coming back. because there will be big cultural differences, and people on the ground here can easily get threatened in thinking that there's a new elite coming back and whatever. So it won't be easy, but it would be a huge and amazing sacrifice for people to actually come back and strengthen our arms here.
I completely agree. Thanks a lot for that, human resource repatriation, and like what you said, the reality on the ground where people feel threatened, again, that who are they, what are they coming for? But I think it's open another topic. I'm just letting you know, Madam Nkunu, about Africans in the diaspora, especially our African sisters and brothers, because I remember one of the features female, we did have another brother in the diaspora who was very vocal about, I want to do things, but I don't know how, I don't know where. And, so I think we probably need to have a separate topic, even on that. I'm just saying, and carry up on that. Thank you so much. So now I'm going to hand over to our male he for she who supports us so much, in a lot that we do. Mr. John, and he's going to be moderating the second part of this session. I've already eaten into part of the time for him. So he's going to be talking about the shift, the African shifting global order, which Madam Nkunu spoke about at the beginning. And over to you, and I'll come back towards the end just to help just round up. So over to you, my dear brother. I think you have your video and you need to unmute yourself. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you, Mama K. I hope you can hear me now.
We can hear you. Are you able to put video on, or
yes,
you can't?
I'm struggling a little bit to come
right.
in.
So we'll just
but
do
yeah,
audio.
I will manage. Yeah. Good morning, Africa. Good evening, Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is John Bianco, and welcome to this first edition of Women in Geopolitics. And really, I just want to be grateful to all the women and men who show up in this first meeting, a subject that is really, really very important for Africa development. And I can see the way it started. People are really fired up. Why? Because geopolitics play a big part in Africa development. And I will be leading you to the second topic, which is Africa in a shifting global order, women as strategic navigators. So it's a very, very important topic and title, but let's go and see what is inside there, so that leaders that we have invited across the world, because we can see from the US, from Africa, Nigeria, you name it, they are in the room, and every perspective that comes from each one of you is what really we need as the argument that can enlighten the rest of Africa, that can go to African Union, that can go to the Office of Regional power, and to bring something that really can change the dynamic of policy in Africa and put Africa in the first driving seat, let's say in the driving seat of the matter, and that's very, very important. Okay, so the context is the decline of unipolar order, the rise of multipolarity. And when we speak about it, you can see nations are shaking, because when we speak about it, we can see powers, new powers coming in, like the BRICS, and then the all power, the all order, like the US and the Western powers. And then we have China joining the party, and all that has opened the door to a world that offers more possibility now to the countries to choose. Is that something good? Is that something bad? This is what we're all going to answer here. We're going to discuss here. And it requires women perspective. It requires women wisdom. It requires that women have a hands-on, because we all realize that in Africa, 52% of Africa demography are women. And the idea that men will run away from that, it's going to continue to keep Africa underdeveloped. But when we put women, we bring women to the table, and trying to sort out what is going on, there is more chance that we're going to find a solution. And that's why I remember former US President Bill Clinton, you know, I remember one time it was in the UN, and the issue was everybody used to complain about what can we do for, you know, for African women? What can we, every time? What are you gonna do? And then policymakers have to sit to say, thinking, men have to sit thinking, women, what are we gonna do for women? You know, everything was about how we can find a solution for women. And then the idea came that the question was not what can we do for women, but what can we do with women? With women, we are likely to find solution. But when we engage ourselves to do something for women, it's always not going to be more than enough. So this is the time to gather African leadership, women leaders, to say, hey, we can do something with you. How are you so available so that we succeed to do something that really brings solution to the continent? And this is why we are here. Now, when we speak about making the decision, you know, shifting from this side to another one, it requires people to have the power to make the right, fair decision for Africa first and the people first. And who's the best, who can be the best person to make that kind of a decision, if not a woman? I mean, we can see when it comes to serve the interests of the family, you will see women always take the best decision for the family. So when we speak about shifting, what will look like a move that can benefit Africa, I believe this is the time where African women need to be brought to the table. You know, because they have the ability to choose what can be good for Africa, and first for Africa, but also for its people, you know. And then who offer the best between BRICS, USA, China, and European Union. You see, when it comes to shifting somewhere, you know, everyone wants to pull the best of his own. And when we bring women in terms of negotiation power, I mean, they have the expertise to say, look, this is what BRICS is proposing, okay? And then this is what the USA is also bringing on the table. China, another one, or the European Union. What can be the best for Africa? So this is not something that people are playing in politics about. And you will see that sometimes even corruption has become part of that. But women can bring the objectivity that really can bring the best of Africa on the table instead of playing politics. You know, I'm gonna give an example. For example, when it comes to South Africa, you know, with the South Africa new government put in place, okay, you will see, if you follow the story of negotiation, a trading negotiation between South Africa and the USA and Europe when it comes to agricultural product, it has been a very huge disappointment, deadlock of how South African agricultural product can penetrate the European market. And I think politicians can testify with the debate in the parliament. Okay, but lately you will find that South Africa just got a breakthrough in China, a multi-billion contract that allow South African farmers, you know, agricultural product to get access into China. You understand? A multi-billion, opening doors of opportunity. And in the past, it is something that could not happen, you know, that didn't succeed in the USA, although there are a lot of opportunity in the USA when it comes, for example, to AGOA or the automobile market. But when it comes to agricultural product, this time it happened with China. Okay, is that good? Is that bad? It's something that we need to discuss also here when it comes to the shifting. And then the other issue is the power to mobilize, to influence. Women have that power. They can mobilize Africa, but also they can influence a policymaker, because the issue when it comes to shifting from one side to another, when you don't have the people who can influence, When you don't have people who cannot mobilize, that will not happen in the way that should be. And we can remember ourselves that in the past, we have African women who have such kind of power. I will be talking people like Winnie Mandela, you know. And I know in Africa, there are so many women that we don't know them, but maybe it's the time for them to come out, you know. And then we can see Naledi Pandor also, you know, a woman now we can see when she's speaking about Africa, the world is listening. When she's speaking about what is happening in the African Union, you know, the way African Union is really flip-flopping instead of putting the feet on the ground to choose the best for Africa. Those are the kind of women who are coming out now to say, our voices matter when it comes to the time for Africa to choose the best for its own people. You know, that's why this forum is there, so that Africa come back to life. Women rise up to say, hey, look, we have to make the best choice for our children in the world that is shifting. We're not going to leave only men to do it alone. This is why we are here. You understand? And the more women understand the geopolitics, the better global conflict and business interests are managed. I think something like this will make sense. And I believe this is the first time that Madeleine Mukuru, the president of FWA, is trying to organize something like this, because African women have been left behind when it comes to geopolitics. You know, men jump up with the opportunity, try to explain the geography of what is happening and why people are battling for Africa as one of the biggest commercial market of 1.3 billion of population and consumer. Everyone wants to come to sell in Africa, but what Africa is selling to itself? What Africa is selling to the rest of the world? And if Africa does not make the right decision to understand the game, the dynamic game that is being played there, the most people will lose in Africa are women. Because when we speak about African women, it's about the children. It's about our daughter, our boys. And they are the one, the future is in jeopardy. So when we speak about geopolitics, it's become very, very important now that African women become involved. And that's why this is very, very important. And I believe that the president of LW, of Leading Women for Africa, will take this at heart, because this is the time now. Everyone, every power is coming into Africa to fight to take the base of Africa. But we need women with influence, women with impact that stand for the interests of their children to say, hey, we need to come to the party and choose the best for Africa. Okay, so this is the context that we are here, and I'm very grateful that His Excellency Mr. Maurice Francman is here, also here. I believe he's still here, you know, and all the diplomats and the former politicians. It's very good to hear your perspective, because women of Africa need to learn something, to hear something from you, so that we build Africa that is the product of its own choice, not something that somebody tried to influence, not something that someone is coming with a gun, you know, and put on our mouth to say, choose me otherwise. This is not the Africa that we want to build. And who can speak better? Who can negotiate better if not African women? So from that perspective, I will open the debate, and I'm coming there, and I'm coming with some questions, and I will leave it open to anyone to answer. I'm not going to name, but if you feel comfortable that you can answer that question, you will be more than welcome. I hope I made myself clear, and yeah, this is where we're going to go. So my first question is, how does the shift from a unipolar to multipolar world reshape Africa's geopolitical options? I will repeat it. How does the shift from a unipolar to a multipolar world reshape Africa's geopolitical option? It's open to you, ladies and gentlemen, and let's share and see what we can learn from one another. Thank you.
Right, can I just come in there? And yeah, so I would like really, I think part of this question to be the continuation of Dr. Angela with regard to how the diaspora they feel now like they are abandoned. They feel like every nation have their own government to go to. However, when they look at them from the African descent, they feel like, where do they go to? And I think talking about the shift into becoming a multipolar world. So this is a power, another power that is rising up. You know, yes, we have the BRICS, yes, we have the West, yes, we have all these other countries that we're talking about, but the diaspora, the African diaspora, for me, it's another power that is rising up. So it's, I like what John was saying. It's really just about time for women now to be at the center and choose what is the best. Prof. Nyerere has mentioned that, you know what? Yes, we might not be united, but there are governments that are welcoming you, and you are welcome. But I would like to be a little bit a devil's advocate from what Dr. Angela was talking about. I think the concern that the diaspora has as a power, and they are a power, and we need to acknowledge now that African diaspora is rising up, and they want to know their sources. They want to go back to their roots. That is the power. It's rising up, and nobody will stop them. And I think the point of view of Dr. Angela was, how united is Africa? Because yes, it means that when they want to come back, they have to talk to 54 leaders in Africa. They want to see a united Africa. And I think news maybe that would be coming from Africa, when they watch, it's scaring them. That's why they feel like, we feel abandoned. We feel like orphans. We feel like we don't have a father to go to. And I think it is a discussion that we might not be able to end up here, but or to finish today, but it is a very important topic that we need to start addressing. And her question was, how do we reconcile? Basically, how do we find pathways? Africa is a power. We need to acknowledge Africa as a power. We need to acknowledge the diaspora, the African diaspora as a power. And the question that that I would like to reiterate that she brought, it was, how do we find the pathway to work together, considering the geopolitical dynamics, the current geopolitical dynamics, as John was saying. And I think it's very, very important. We're talking about now a multipolar world. How do we reconcile that? I think it will be quite important, as John has asked the question, to know how do we shift? How are we shifting? We know that we are entering into a multipolar world. And I would like to hear really the views of everyone, but really my position with regard to African diaspora, I think it is also a power that cannot be ignored, and we need to actually find pathways to work together, because someone has spoken about the human repatriation, the skills repatriation. I think it was Mrs. Dudley, which is definitely one of the solutions that we need to think. But I think the question will remain, how? And I think that is a question that the African diaspora is asking themselves. How do they do that? Maybe from what they are looking at, they want to see the Africa united, so that they know they can go to AU. Not quite sure. Maybe Honorable Cisse can enlighten us. Does AU has an organ that deal with diaspora? That's very important, so that when the African diaspora want to come back, they know there is a point of entry. So instead of speaking to 54 governments, there will be one entry point where they will speak. So I think that's really my approach to answer John's question. How do we shift? How are we shifting? I think for me, it's to see Africa united will be one of the shifts that will strengthen the move to navigate in this new world order that we are all facing. Thank you. That is really my approach on this question. Thank you.
Thanks, Madeleine, for bringing your view and perspective. Yes, unity played part of that. People can only move in unity, and I think without unity, nothing will be done. But also to respond to that concern, once again, like I say, Mrs. Lady Pando has been talking, if you follow, last year about some weaknesses of African Union. A part of that is not being able to reconcile Africa, but also in terms of considering the apport of the diaspora, how to integrate different constituency of what make Africa. So Africa and the diaspora. And in the issue of the diaspora, integration should be resolved at the level of African Union. And that's why part of women understanding the geopolitics open the door to give them a voice to call the African Union in order. I believe that until now, the African Union has not been, put in a place to take responsibility. And that's why that can only happen in the main way women understand the geopolitics, have a voice, unite, come together, and take the issue to the African Union. So not only Africa need to shift in the other perspective, but also even in terms of policy, and who are and sitting on the top of African policy is the African Union. So I believe that concern can be brought to the level of African Union so that a proper mechanism will be put in place to resolve that kind of issue. Yeah, thank you very much. We would like to hear more about the question perspective. How does the shift from a unipolar to multipolar world reshape Africa geopolitics option? If you have the question, you can write it. We can still read it, but I believe that there are people there who can really bring a better perspective to highlight the audience about it.
Am I on? No?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. I think that's something really very important that you said. The AU has a huge responsibility, and it's not stepping up to the plate because, the rise of BRICS has hastened this new world order together with the Trump chaos and his approach to things. So what we're getting is that we go moving from a unipolar world actually back to a bipolar world, forcing people to choose this camp or that camp. Whereas if Africa, if the AU were taking its stand in terms of bringing the diaspora and Africa together in terms of being that kind of a trade partner with the world, it sort of, then we can come back to this idea of multipolar. But sadly, the BRICS, US, and of course the EU will be very loath to separate from America. That's where the strength lies, because obviously their worldview is so very different to Iran and Hamas and Russia and whatever. So basically, we're going to go back to that bipolar world if we're not careful. And perhaps Africa is the key. And perhaps that means pressure needs to be put on the AU to kind of put on the kind of glasses to be able to see that there needs to be that strength as a third strength rather than being a little piece within BRICS. Because in that situation, we've had South Africa saying that they don't like to take sides, but all we've done is take sides. So what if it's Africa taking the side of Africa and respecting the other two sections? It would be a much greater balance than getting into one side or the other. Anyway, so that was just a thought. I do have some other thoughts on this issue, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, ma'am, for the perspective, and it's really something that really a lot of people will agree with that, because when we speak about the African Union and African Union, we see, for example, the European Union, where all the policies are put together to give a better perspective of how the European Union should fight as one for their economic interests. And the African Union has not been doing that. That's why Africa remains divided. And that's why even the question, how should we move? I mean, Africa cannot succeed to move from one ship to another without a unity when the one that's supposed to lead Africa does not take responsibility. And this is where women understanding the geopolitical games can stand up. I was speaking about Ma'am Naledi Pandor. She expressed herself in the way where women should rise up, because they are the hope of Africa tomorrow. So this is the time for women of Africa to organize themselves, to look at the issue. How can we integrate the diaspora back? Because they are a power, not only economically, but in terms of expertise. How can we bring them back? But also, how can we start choosing as a one? There always been a difference for 54 countries choosing each one for his own interest. Is not going to bring us somewhere, nowhere. But if we come together and fight for our common interest, that's where the solution going to come in. So really, I do appreciate your perspective. And as somebody that was in the parliament, I think we need more your input. That's why you were talking about how we can communicate with the masses. The idea that you really bring the light down, the common view that comes from the darkness, and that does not make Africa to progress. So really, we do appreciate your view. And if you want to come back and add something more, you will be more than welcome. But we open the floor, and we need more intervention. Please don't be afraid, don't be shy, because this is the moment where we want to hear perspective that we can put together, and who knows, maybe take it to the African Union, because in the end of the day, when policy does not change, the possible shift from the old order to the new will not happen. Open to you guys, open to you, honorables, open to you. Yes, I can see somebody want to say something. Please don't hesitate. We're talking about the geopolitics. We're talking how Africa should be shifting, by choosing what is the best.
Should I come in between?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I just, decreasing populations figures are presently one of the biggest threats to the continued development and even existence of many countries, developed countries. And Africa, like the United States, is in an enviable position geopolitically. It's endowed with coastlines, mineral resources, population numbers, and youth. And these are things that other countries don't have. So there's a huge power in that collective. So many, like yourselves, are giving this fact the consideration that it deserves as opportunities abound. So this is obviously what your work is all about at the moment. So focusing on youth education, skills, and career opportunities is key. Policies that actually entice young people to stay and follow careers in their own countries or the countries of their birth are crucial, especially as much of the rest of the world will likely be headhunting or enticing skilled workers and labor in general to relocate. So it's not only a case of getting the diaspora to try and find us attractive. We need to have our youth, our young people now finding us attractive and wanting to stay and develop their careers here within Africa. So that would be an important addition that perhaps that will stir some other thoughts from other participants.
Fantastic. Again, something that really, because we want to shift the need to keep our children in the country because they are the future and they need to empower them. When we look in terms of what the rest of the rest of the world is fighting in Africa, it's about the minerals. So the urgency to train our own children about the African minerals, for them, the expertise of how to use them, it's become very, very imperative because by the time they leave Africa, who then going to do the job? So for that shift to become very possible, we need to focus. Instead of our children dying crossing the Mediterranean Sea, it is a time for African countries to think how to use the minerals for the benefit of the African continent. And the need of industrialization become very, very urgent, And this is why we're talking that, look, when in some degree, policymakers are sleeping, but women of Africa who understand, who are the one who held the family, can become a voice of influence, to push for that shift become possible. Thank you very much again from that perspective, that really everybody can see that when you want to make a move, when you want to shift, you need to consider what is very necessary that will make you move very strategic, very important. And once again, that's why we say women are more strategic. And when it comes to choose for the best of Africa, this is the time for them to raise up, come together, write, propose a policy that they can submit instead of waiting for somebody to make policy for them. I think that is also something that's very important. Okay, while other people are thinking, the time is running, and you can leave your question once again in the chat box. We're going to get all of that, and maybe Ms. Madeline will come back to you and respond to that. The question number 2 is, in negotiation with global powers, when we speak about negotiation with global power, we're talking about the BRICS as the new kid on the blocks. We're talking about the US, European Union, and China, and especially China. We know the power, economical power that lays in the hand of China today. And when China and the US come together, we know what is creating. And when we see BRICS also coming in, this is what creating that a shift to become very, very important. So in the negotiation with the global power, how can women leaders influence fair and win-win outcome in Africa? You see, like I said, people are coming with philosophy, ideology to say, hey, maybe you should remain with the USA, and they give the reason that Africa should choose the USA. Others are saying maybe we should work more with the European Union, and there are a lot of sales that are being made in the name of the European Union. But others are saying maybe we should come with China because look, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, let's go with the BRICS. Okay, so how women You know, how women can influence the choice, the good choice, in terms of balancing what can be the best choice for Africa.
Right. I think Mrs. Adenike has her hand up.
Yes.
You can go ahead.
Thank you so much, my leader. And thank you, Mr. John. My own contribution is just very few. In Nigeria, there is something we do. And I think if other Africa can copy from that and we start it too, it will be a great one. There is every year, I think it's going to happen next month now. We call them the diaspora. The diaspora union. They work with the diaspora commission. They come home to Nigeria. They have the meeting, they have a dinner, they discuss with we too that's at home, the way forward, so that what we can channel to work more as a country. For those in the diaspora, they should not forget that they have home here. Whatever they are making, they should channel it home. And our new president, President Bola Ahmed Shiwaju, wherever any country he visited, he makes sure he visit the diaspora, the Nigeria in that country. He have a meeting with them, he dialogue with them, he tell them this is what we are doing at home. Don't forget home. Participate your contribution. Home is home. I didn't say you should not stay in other country, but always remember home. So if the African people to collide together and form such an association, we rotate it every other African country every year. Let's invite every African citizen to come home and dialogue and sit down within each other. Let everybody contribute quarterly or whatever they can suggest for the benefit of Africa to develop. Then we are making a step. Thirdly, I will suggest we go with China, because in Nigeria, the railway metro stations are back working, and we have one road we call Coastal Road now. The president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, started it. That Coastal Road is going to lead up to Abidjan. It's going to lead up to every Africa, West Africa. We need to develop infrastructure within each other. I was so mad when I was in Tanzania last month, when I visited their markets. God Almighty, I couldn't believe. All the old markets, there is no one produce that is made in Africa there. It's full of Chinese, India, Lebanese. I was so crazy. Then I visited the Chamber of Commerce there because I am a Pan-African Chamber member. I said, so my brother, what are we going to do? Our first issue is logistic. To transport our goods within each other is a big challenge. And we don't have to wait until the European Union lift us up, because if you export anything to any other African country from Nigeria, it has to go to Europe first, which is crazy. So we need to look for way to channel logistic with ourselves, maybe by rail, maybe by road. We can use trailers. Actually, the road is going to affect us, but the major one is the metro station, that is the train. So we need to partner with China. We have been with European Union for long, and we are not benefiting. They are the one benefiting majorly from us. They take all our minerals, they take everything they buy our agricultural produce with stipends. And nowadays they are giving us a GMO. They will say they are supporting us with agricultural produce, seed or whatever, or fertilizer, and they are killing our lands. By the time we use it to plant, it's not giving us best results. So I will suggest we go to China. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam, for your views and perspective in terms of what can be the best for Africa. And once again, that was the beauty of putting together this debate, so that we can hear from one another, the pro and the con of choosing this one to that one. And in the end of the day, it's going to be for the best of the African continent. So I believe that we are coming to the end of discussion. Like I said, we couldn't go more than that, but the time is limited. And I believe that anything that is about the understanding of the geopolitics, the shift that becomes very, very necessary, so we can choose which is the best for the continent, requires unity, requires people speaking in one voice, require that people have the knowledge of what can be the policies, the real policy that matter, that once supported can open up Africa for development. And if we do that, if we unite, if we really will make the best choice that will serve the interests of the continent, that way really economic freedom will come into Africa. Thank you for coming and listening to this debate once again. And we hope that next time we're going to gather again and come up with something more better we can discuss to continue to enlighten the public. Over to you, Madam Madeleine. And as for me, thank you very much.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, very much. Thank you very much, John, for your contribution. I think you left us more with questions. You know, we need to choose the best for our children, the best for the future of this continent. And yeah, so the contribution was really, really great. Let's hear now from our panelists. Honorable Fatoumata, so the second topic, your final input.
Thank you very much. I have had it was interesting, and the moderator carried most of the talking for us, which we were very happy. But he brought in very pertinent questions that we should answer. So I will start answering in Africa with regards to geopolitics and to navigate how the gender or leadership of women should be in this. I'm happy. I'm looking forward to the next debate, and I'm sorry I couldn't be facial, but you can hear my voice. I want to appreciate you for your leadership and your time, and that of our very kind African woman, Dr. KAA, and all the panelists, my honorable sister member from South Africa, and our sisters who spoke from Nigeria, and our he for she that is always supporting us. Thank you, LAA, and we can carry the flag higher for African women. Thank you very much, and good night.
Great, thank you so much. Mrs. Dudley.
Hi there. Yes, so thank you, Madeleine, for those amazing efforts that you make, and everybody who works with you in line with these efforts. And of course, something that we all agree is that diplomacy is very important. If we don't have diplomacy, we just have the only option is war. So at least, and very often war is something that has to happen, but mostly we could get better at our diplomacy. So that's kind of important. But the other thing is, of course, we always talk about leaders. We need better leaders. And this is really important because you do need leaders. And you need leaders with greater respect for democracy. Because if you look at the BRICS countries, and you look at Russia and Iran, and look at women in terms of those countries, and you got to raise a question mark. So Africa doesn't want to take on other people's ways and problems. So Africa knows where it wants to go and how it's bursting at the seams with all these ideas. So we got to think really carefully about that. We need better leaders. We need leaders with respect for democracy, for democratic processes, for accountability, for government with checks and balances, the rule of law and diplomacy. And that has to come to the fore. And we as women can do that. How can we do it? Democracy and the right to vote is only one step in the right direction. Good governance is key. It's crucial. You know, you can have democratic votes that will vote in Hamas or Hitler. That's just one step. But what we need is we need people in each of our countries to be the experts and the most skilled in all of these areas in terms of democracy. Become the experts in law, in policy making, in every aspect of what has proven to produce good governance, and train up others to implement it. Because so it's a lot of training the trainers, but we also need to train people to implement, because we're all good at talking. But you know, I find also, even when I stopped at Parliament, everybody had a good idea of what I should be doing to run their vision. No, it's their vision. I can talk to them about my experience, but they must implement their vision. So we need to get people ready to implement the vision, but be prepared. So we got to become the voice of wisdom as we as women apply ourselves to matters of conflict resolution. So that's another thing. We must apply ourselves as people will recognize, people will want us if we are the real thing, if we deliver what's actually needed. So we can't be impatient. Politicians care about the next election, while leaders, true leaders, care about the next generation. So this is strongly where our eyes need to be. So since the beginning of time, imperial wars, scientific advances, discoveries, the agricultural era, the industrial era, the technological era, natural disasters, that's fires, floods, droughts, outbreaks of deadly diseases. These have all had a major turning, they've all been major turning points in terms of impacting politics and economies, and they have impacted on world orders. So our job, that is your job, my young and energetic colleagues, is not to panic and to apply your minds to your vision and calling with the broader picture in mind. Don't ignore the lessons of history, and never, and remember, before it is too late, the freedoms, democracy, and Western civilization did eventually achieve. Before we all end up in having a hand in dismantling what has already cost so much for so many, couple the enthusiasm and idealism of youth with wisdom gleaned from not only understanding the times, but sitting at the feet of history. Go forward with clear plans and strategies, yes, but keep in mind that the unforeseen is inevitable, and one must learn to be flexible and go with the flow, reinventing and improving as we face and overcome the challenges. So let's raise Africa's voice, yes, and profile as we build a solid reputation together. So we as women are in the building of our reputation phase. So we mustn't get impatient. It is happening.
It is happening.
It is happening.
That is a word. I really love what you say. Politicians care about the next elections. True leaders care about the next generation. I think that is one thing that we must never forget. And I like your approach as to, you know, John left us with a lot of challenges and maybe a pertinent question to answer. You know, how do we choose? We need to choose the best for our land, for our continent, for our people. And your approach of thinking, okay, as we go ahead to choose, we need to choose democracy. We need to choose leaders that are applying democratic principles. We cannot carry other people's ways and problems.
Jump from the frying pan into the fire.
We have enough of our own already to carry. I think that was very, very important approach to look at how do we make those decisions. So, Mrs. Emma, let's hear your wisdom as well and insight into this. You are muted. Let's check in the chat if there's any question. Yes, Flo Annie. Maybe you can come in and just say it what you wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you so much, leadership. Thank you for letting me to be together with women of intelligence. I'm very much impressed. Sometimes when you sit and wonder all these questions on your own, you wonder how Africa is going to unite and sort out such things. I'm so impressed that there are women of guts that were there doing all this work since last year, as you say. I'm not very much educated, dear ladies, but I'm down to earth with the communities in my country, actually trying to move a motion where poverty should not be the song of Africa, because we've got all the resources, we've got the people, we've got the human power, we've got everything, we've got waters, we've got good soils. We can't sit and wait for the same system that was there before for us. So I'm very impressed and I'm very happy that I'm part of this today. And I agree with all the leaders, both the diaspora's issues, the way we are handling matters, believing that women have the power. And it's very true. If a woman is put in front of any movement, believe you me, with the heart of a woman, things do move. So I am of the opinion that for real, this LWA should really be blessed with icon leaders like you people, and we forge ahead. I thank you so much for taking me in. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that input. And any final word, if we have? I saw Mrs. Dudley has unmuted herself. Did you want to say one more word?
No, I think I've I think I've said it all. Thank you. Sorry, it was just I probably forgot to unmute. Apologies.
All right, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, so we are almost at the end of our program today, and thank you for every contribution, every word, every insight, every experience shared, every example that was shared here. And Madam Adedeji, we really appreciate your courage to see where you think the president Tinubu is heading to, and you think that is the best way for Nigeria. And just giving an example of the railway that is that will connect countries and which will improve the trade relations between different countries. And as we are promoting intra-regional integration, we are promoting intra-trade, African intra-trade, which is needed in Africa. We need, obviously, you mentioned about the infrastructure. It's
Thank you so much, Ma.
very important.
I appreciate you, my leader.
Thank you so much. So that is very, very important. There's just so much. I'm sure we can continue to talk here. There's different approaches, different views. And I think Mrs. Angela from the US said there are two schools of thoughts that that we are facing. You know, do we go to our traditional partners, or do we build new partnerships? I think for me, Africa is at crossroad. Yes, we are at the center here. On the right hand side, we do have our traditional partners that we've been with for many, many years, if not centuries. And we have the newcomers, the new, what John is calling the new kids in a block that are coming. And we are like a woman, you know, that is being lured by so many partners, you know, so many husbands. And we are there, we need to make a choice. Who do we get married to? And I think that is still really a journey. And I think it's like, you know, when a woman is at the verge of getting married, you're trying to look who's the better husband, you know, who's the better husband that I could form a long-term partnership with. We are there. Is it time for us to make a decision? I think my thought will be, it might not be time yet to make a decision. We are just at the entrance of the New World Order. And from our traditional partners, they are seeing their flaws that they made in the past, and they are trying to make amendments. How can we build a better relationship in the future? From the new kids in the block, for the new powers that are rising, it's a new love altogether. However, we need to be very, very sure that we choose the best, as John has left us with. It is time for us, and for us to be able to choose the best. For me, one point remains: we need to unite. Otherwise, the leg will be saying, no, I want this pair of shoes because it is red. And the other one will say, I love this pair of shoes because this is look. And the hand will say, no, I would like to wear this blouse because it is. Until we are united as a continent, yes, and we will continue to be manipulated. We're not saying that, the traditional partners now have become the devil or the new partners are the best. But all we're saying is that if we are not wise, if we are not united, the new kids in a block will manipulate us, and also the old partners will continue to just, distract us, and we will not be able to make a better decision. It is time, and us as women, we need to be at that center, and I think everyone agreed that women have the power to actually come and facilitate a better negotiation, a better engagement, a better collaboration, and establish a collaboration of a win-win partnership, as we say it. And I think that's what Africa needs. Yes, we do have our traditional partners. Yes, we do have new powers that are coming. But what is the best for us? What is the best for us? We will need to work with a partner that offer us, that is fair, and offer us that that approach of win-win collaboration. The journey is still long. We are still really far to get there, but what we need for now is unity so that we can get views. And I'm sure we'll be able to get views from what Mrs. Adedeji said from Nigeria. This is what they are doing. This is what the new partners is bringing on the table. We'll be able as well to look at another country and say, this is the pros and cons of partnering, continue, or maybe an improved relationship with traditional partners, and what is the pros of maybe including the new partners. But we all need to look at how is it going to benefit Africa and its people.
And generations to
Really, that is my conclusion, and I would like to thank everybody for your contribution. You will be informed of the next debate, but as we continue to engage, let's continue to engage on WhatsApp, on email, on socials. And our sister from the US, Dr. Angela, we will be in touch so we can try to strengthen ideas, so you can get a better view of what is happening in Africa. As you heard from different people, Africa is open to welcome the diaspora. You are a power that is rising, and we recognize you as a power, and we want you home. So we will need to engage further to see how do we collaborate, how do we create that pathway that will unite us, you in the diaspora and Africa, so we can continue to build our continent. So thank you so much. And we will communicate on the next activity. Mama K, over to you for just saying a goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you all. Wow, what an amazing session it's been. Very insightful, apt to the point. Thank you, Mr. John Bianco, my brother, for that input. And I don't even want to repeat some of what has been said, but I've been writing as well. More questions, more needs to be done. And like our dear Honorable Sherilyn Dudley said, you know, yeah, we don't want to be a talk shop. We need to train others to implement, you know, as well. So those are some of the real action that needs to happen. And thank you for all those who started with us and still here, especially Floriani Kamanga. Thank you from Malawi. We really appreciate you. And Madam Ade Deji, when you were giving the examples there, I just didn't want to say, oh, you know, when we, you know, we're talking about the diaspora, about here, what Nigeria is doing with the diaspora, and even Ethiopia and a lot of other countries. I'm glad you shared those real issues and those real good practice, you know, that can still help us. And some of the issues we're still challenged with logistics, you know, the fact that we all have different currencies. And at the end of the day, we use dollar, which is not, you know, here. Why can't we not have an African currency in terms of trade? There's been a lot of talk about this, but in terms of practical, how do we make this happen? But we're not, we're acknowledging all those that have been working. And I think I want to just use this time to say, we acknowledge all those who have been working behind the scenes in terms of issues across the continent, and not saying things are not being done, but we need more to happen. And I believe we can get more done if we unite more, like Madam Madalena said. And they are, you know, she's doing amazing work with Leading Women of Africa across Africa. So French speaking, English speaking, we have women representative, Christian, Muslims, traditionalists, everybody. So it's not about, you know, those who are educated, those who are not educated, you know, it's everybody, you know, that she's trying, you know, to the best of our ability as well to bring, you know, on. And we've had dynamic women, you know, from various industry, you know, like today now, mining entrepreneurs, education, those in the medical field, and a lot of other people. So I think we should not get discouraged. We need to keep talking. We need to keep working. We need to keep collaborating. We need to keep showing love to each other, and especially in small groups. So I'm appealing to those who are watching on YouTube or Facebook at the moment. Please, you know, we all have the power in our hand, you know, to spread good news and positive news about projects and initiatives like this that are happening, so that we don't focus more on the negative. And I think for me, I always say, without us having problems, there won't be opportunities, you know, for us. And yes, we have a lot of problems in Africa, a lot of issues, poverty, unemployment, and so on, but we can turn them around into opportunities. And I think we cannot do that alone. We have to do that with our African brothers and sisters in the diaspora and our African descent, you know, as well. So thank you, Dr. Angela, for getting in touch. Like Madam Madeleine said, we'll be in touch on, you know, what next, what more. But if you do have any ideas, and please do share your LinkedIn and so on. I saw Dr. Angela shared hers, and yeah, this is all part of where we could continue to connect with each other. Share your details, connect with each other, promote, you know, your organization, and do join the LWA, because they do have a forum, you know, for women to join, you know, as leaders. And who else can you bring, you know, along, you know, to events like this, who can, you know, share with us what they've done, or who can be speakers as well. Maybe we don't know some of the women doing things. So please, we need more input. LWA has shared the details, and I think please, Madam Nkuno, share the details again so that people can join in. So I think that's all we've got for now. Thank you to our amazing panelists, in no particular order. Former MP Sherilyn Dudley, we see you, we thank you. Excellency Dr. Fatoumata Jahumpa Sise, who has allowed me to call her Honorable FJC, we see you. And Pan-Africanist Professor Emma Nyerere from Tanzania, we see you. And of course, our male, he for she as well, former Deputy Minister Marius Fransman, who joined, very briefly, but very profound in his input. We see you. Thank you as well, my dear brother John Bianco, for all your contribution, and obviously to our technical people as well, Mr. John Magumbi, and a few other people that joined and have been helping. We appreciate you all. Till next time, I think let's take action. Have a blessed weekend, and may God continue to watch over us all. And please look after yourselves. Honorable FJC, next time, whether 2 months time, 3 months time, whenever you're able to get, I don't want to say you, I want to see your face. So please look after yourselves, because we all do all this work, and sometimes, the life gets in the way, or health. So let's look after ourselves and not get too burdened. Thank you. God bless.
Yeah.
Okay, we will. Yes, inshallah. You need to unmute yourself, Madeline.
No, I was just saying thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Yes. Now just time, if you want to network, you can network. But yeah, thank you. Formally, we're done. Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Kaya Amina, thank you. We see your hand.
Yeah, she said
Yes,
I was
inshallah.
reading her message in French.
I saw that. Maybe you need to translate what she said there, because I don't know.
No, she said that I thank you for yeah, she was following. It was inspiring. But just so sorry, I'm lying. I'm lying sick.
Oh, a lot of people. Wow,
And
everybody,
God gave
please
me
look
the
after
strength.
yourself.
God gave me the strength to follow the sessions at least.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Oh, there's still a few more people. Okay. Well, I might have to take my leave. But thank you, everyone. Mems Ramala, we see you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It really was an insightful conversation. I learned a lot.
Oh, that's what we want to hear. What do you do, ma'am?
I'm in the sustainable beekeeping space. So
you were the one, yes, from Joburg.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Mama K.
Tell me what that is about. While we've still got a few minutes.
Okay, so I'm in the business of improving the quality of life of communities that reside adjacent to the forest resources or the parks, because that's where the bees are. So we supply them with production inputs in order for them to establish their micro beekeeping startups. And we mentor them for a period of 12 months, and we also offer them market linkage, which means we buy the honey back from them so that their micro startups are sustainable. Whilst with us, we then become a reliable and consistent supplier of honey. So it is a win-win. Yes, someone spoke of a win-win. Yes.
Awesome. Well done. Well, I hope, are you exporting some of the bees out, or is it just within South Africa? Because this is all part of what we're talking about. And I've never really met anybody working in, okay, I've met one in your field, but yeah. Okay.
So Mama K, yes, we are preparing ourselves to export our honey to Germany.
Oh,
but it's a long journey. We need to get our honey extraction facility global GAP certified first.
Awesome.
Yes, and once that has been done.
Awesome. Thank you for allowing us to find out about you. And how did you find out about the program? So that LWA.
Okay, the program. Okay. All right, so I'm on a chat group of business women in South Africa. It's called SAWIT, So one of the ladies on SAWID, yes, informed us or enlightened us about an organization called LWA. And it is through LWA that I got to know about today's session, and I decided I was going to attend.
Awesome. So that means when you attend the next one, you need to bring somebody else along so that they will
Yes.
hear, like you said, it's been, that's what
Yes.
this is about.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Take care of yourself. Thank
Thanks,
you.
you too, ma'am. Thanks. Bye. Bye, bye, Madam Madeleine.
Bye, bye. Thank you so much. Yeah,
You're
let's be in
welcome.
touch.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Au revoir. I got to go. Bye, everybody. Bye, Honorable DF Doctor, my dear sister.
I hope you
I-
get better soon.
I will.
Excellency, I hope you get better
I hope
soon.
so. I hope so. I hope so. Because I think the
Yeah.
last time she was unwell as well. So that's what I'm saying here. We all need to look after ourselves. Please. Let's
Exactly.
be better.
Exactly.
Let's
Yeah.
be better. Okay, I've got to go. I've got to love
Let's
you and
hear
leave
from
you.
you when you get better. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone else. Bye. God bless. Love you all.
Matala. Hello. Hey. Hello. Yeah. Hello. Boss.
Hello,
Yes, boss.
how are you?
I'm fine, boss.
Naka sa Santa Fe, okay.
Well, mu ngi okay tey de aw tey nag moo wax dëgg yàlla pen bi ma amoon démba ak burka démba aw ma ko tey ba pare tey dama amoon ñaari virtual meeting léegi la benn bi jeex léegi nii moo si beneen line bi foofu laa fa nekkoon sax di nga ko gis maa ngi woon virtual meeting maa la ko seen sax maa ngi woon virtual maa ngi naan number Gambia bi yàlla buñ ma fi call because we laa defee virtual because aw ma lay now I'm forced to myself to go and find a laptop because du dee easy pour ma use suma phone bi jërëjëf pour ma use suma phone bi pour def lifin virtual.
Well, that's good, kan.
Yeah. Tey de moom wax dëgg yàlla amaguma pende xaw ma nag touch wood because I don't know. So yow nag otherwise yow nag how are you?
I'm fine, just tired.
Just tired. I know going to naka la tuddaati prison naka mile 2 boobu beneen la.
Hey, dafa jógee sax. Tey ma fa fekk anti ay lambe.
Ay tey samedi la di lu xew mu liggéey tey mu ne.
No, solid uniform, sax ma dafa génnoon or something.
mu jaar fa. Okay.
Jox naa gaay drink bi dégg nga after nga la taw.
Angal wala fate watam. Mu ne sardinam bi ñaata si manqué 20 xawma. Carton bu nekk.
Mama wan.
Hey, yow dema ko teel a wax. Man akis naa nit yi de astafurlah yal nañ ma baala si barke timis bi maa julli si. Carton bu nekk ñaata nga fa wàññi. Muy 20 so yaa ngi denca 20.
Wow.
Mu mel ni carton bu nekk 40 moo dem 80 moo dem.
Waaw 80 moo dem.
Si sardine.
Waaw.
Comme bi fii na 48 yëpp a duggoon.
Wow.
Oh, okay. I'll rectify it today. My lighted drink, saying precious drink, Bilen Fatmata order from Qatar.
man mais mu ne mu bëgg ma koo teg tamit ma ne ko du man de yaa moo xam gaay moom nga patronize gaay gaay
hello su jamaate ñëwee jël si ganaar nga joxaale ko moom dinañ ko jeexal nii dañ ko naan ba FR naa ko wax te ñu ne xay dañ ko nee nii fu noos waxee ne neex na kay te ñoom ñoo nasa en laamañ du maa ngi lekk Oguya su ko wax ñeneen ñi dinañ ko waxee ñaara moo fa des so ñaata nga tegal añ bi tey foo waaw su jobaatee ñëwee jël si nga tegal ko 10 Ali wax ko de ko man du ma waxatee moom man tam toogoon naa ko gis nga maa ngi wane suma óob bi tane na rek maa ngi bugg a jóg nii su ma waxee yow ma déggal traka ci ta Aliou ñaata fan waxuta man xanaa keroog ma gis ko yaa ngi ko dash li fi yaa ngi ko dash xaalis ay paquet because léegi dafa am xaalis léegi dafa joolaa bi dafa am xaalis du waxam ma faale ma joolaa yi man baalalu ma ko ana daala bi ñëw na jox ko mondi waa ak cake bi dama foog na drink ak fa di kon de man amoon drink cake ak daala waa am ak fay school fees am bi soo leen ma si mu ne dimbale rek billaay dem fay ko si bank bi ba pare ku ko fay si bank bi access bank la su ko fayee dafa delluwaat si school yi ñoom Aliou ñu jox ko official receipt bi ko boobu laa soxla parce que dama ko dugal pour ne mun maa delloo lu ko mooy dama ko ñàkk rek billaay xam naa ne loolu yëpp yow yaa ko def access bank la man ma dee fay access bank si junction bi doo mutu laa dee dugal waaye soriwul doo gaa fay access bank cross romba suma supermarket bi doo rek dugal si lifin bi soo amee time rek soo noppale ko maybe Tuesday parce que moo dee setti te seen taw bi xamu na na taw te garaatee mu doon taw Gambia loolu na uti bakaw bàyyi ko rek mu mel ni melentaan noonu benn daanu fa rek loolu la dee su ko kaa lekk di lekk su paree dinaa dama kiif di dox ne mel ni solo si jaar gis nga kadi jaa nataala na yónnee naa la ko di papa moo ma ko yónnee kon naa daf doon dem school te